Chapter 3078. Let's go. We need to leave this place quickly. I'm afraid there will be greater danger later. Lin Feng's divine sense was very strong. He could sense the terrifying aura in the depths of the forest. They couldn't stay here any longer. They needed to break out of this place as soon as possible. Otherwise, the situation would be very bad for them. Du Zhu and the heretic sovereign saint nodded solemnly. The surroundings were too dangerous. Danger lurked everywhere. There were killings everywhere. Cultivators were dying constantly. Of course, there were also many beasts that were killed by the cultivators. Lin Feng, Du Zhu, and the heretic sovereign saint were together. They chose a direction and began to break out of the encirclement. Pooh! 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 Lin Feng wielded the stone sword and slashed at the incoming beasts. The stone sword's power was too extraordinary. Every slash of the sword could kill a large number of beasts. Several double-winged lightning dragons and golden eagles had their eyes on Lin Feng, Du Zhu, and the heretic sovereign saint. Du Zhu laughed strangely. "I'll let you have a taste of poison first." As soon as he finished speaking, Du Zhu waved his hand. Instantly, the poisonous fog rolled. Powerful poisonous gas rushed out quickly. A large amount of poison enveloped the double-winged lightning dragons and golden eagles that were charging at them. After absorbing a large amount of poison, the double-winged lightning dragons and golden eagles became weak. Although they were flapping their wings, it was obvious that their strength was greatly weakened. Moreover, their eyes were filled with pain. Slash! Lin Feng shouted. He wielded the stone sword and slashed at the double-winged lightning dragons and golden eagles. Puchi! Tearing sounds could be heard. One by one, the double-winged lightning dragons and golden eagles were killed by Lin Feng. They quickly flew into the distance. However, not long after, Lin Feng and the others were targeted by other beasts. They were targeted by more than a dozen silver-winged demonic wolves. Each silver-winged demonic wolf was more than 10 meters long. When they spread their wings, they could cover the sky. These silver-winged demon wolves were extremely powerful, and their auras were incomparably terrifying. Lin Feng felt that these silver-winged demonic wolves' physical bodies and magic power had already reached the Great Emperor realm. However, their divine abilities and soul spirits had yet to reach the Great Emperor realm. Thus, these silver-winged demonic wolves couldn't be considered true emperors, but they weren't far off. The dozen or so silver-winged demonic wolves were as fast as lightning. In addition, their race's divine ability was extremely powerful, so dealing with them was simply too difficult. The silver-winged demonic wolves spat out silver spears one after another. The attacks of those silver spears were simply too tyrannical. A light blow. It could shatter billions of voids. It pierced through heaven and earth. Such a tyrannical divine ability was naturally extremely shocking. Facing the attacks of these silver-winged demonic wolves, Lin Feng, Du Zhu, and the evil Dominator Saint did not dare to be careless. Lin Feng waved his hand and directly summoned the Heavenly Profound Treasure Pagoda. He used the Heavenly Profound Pagoda to protect his body. When the spears arrived, they all hit the Heavenly Mystery Pagoda's defensive light barrier. Clang, 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 clang. A series of violent collisions rang out. Those spears were all blocked by the Heavenly Profound Treasure Pagoda's defensive light barrier. The Heavenly Profound Treasure Pagoda's defensive light barrier was indeed powerful, as expected of an Emperor-level supreme treasure. Hand of Earth. At this moment, the evil Dominator Saint unleashed his might. As his voice fell, he condensed numerous large hands. Those large hands were large hands that drilled out from the ground. They were formed from soil and mountain rocks. However, those large hands were extremely powerful. Those large hands directly grabbed the forelimbs of the silver-winged demonic wolves. They restricted the movements of the silver-winged demonic wolves. Poison of 10,000 poisons. At this moment, the poison ancestor unleashed an extremely powerful poison technique. He slapped out with both hands one after another, and a monstrous poisonous fog began to churn. Within the poisonous fog, many terrifying poison spirits were congealed. Those poison spirits possessed extremely powerful powers. Every single one of them could be said to be capable of destroying heaven and earth. Of course, these poison spirits not only had powerful attacks, but also contained deadly poison. The deadly poison contained within these poison spirits was extremely unimaginable. If one's cultivation was slightly weaker, they might even be poisoned to death. From this, one could see how terrifying this poison was. Lin Feng charged out as fast as lightning, waving the stone sword in his hand. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Cold light flashed. Rays of dazzling cold light swept out. They slashed towards the surrounding silver-winged demonic wolves. Roar. The silver-winged demonic wolves roared in both shock and anger. Powerful magic power gushed out of these silver-winged demonic wolves, and the magic power formed magic power light shields to protect their bodies. However, not long after the magic power barrier was formed, it began to crack. These silver-winged demonic wolves had already been poisoned by Du Zu's deadly poison, so it was very difficult for them to circulate their magic power. Therefore, their bodies were unable to support them for too long, which led to the current situation. At this time, the sword chi that Lin Feng sent out with the stone sword collided with the magic power barrier around the silver-winged demonic wolves. The magic power barrier around the silver-winged demonic wolves was unable to withstand the attack of Lin Feng's sword chi. Those magic power barriers were all destroyed by Lin Feng's sword chi. Following that, the terrifying sword chi directly tore apart the bodies of the silver-winged demonic wolves. More than a dozen powerful silver-winged demonic wolves were quickly killed under the joint attack of Lin Feng, the heretic sovereign saint, and Du Zu. Lin Feng and the rest did not dare to stay and continued to break out. At this time, a cold voice suddenly came from afar. "Kill them!" Following that voice, the surrounding hundreds of fierce beasts all rushed towards Lin Feng, Du Zu, and the heretic sovereign saint. Lin Feng's expression became grave. This time, they were going to experience a fierce battle. He looked at the terrifying being that gave the order. Lin Feng's face immediately revealed an incomparably shocked expression. That terrifying being was actually a spirit snake. It was a golden spirit snake, emitting a terrifying aura. That spirit snake floated in the air. Its cold eyes looked at Lin Feng and the rest. It was as if it was looking at 3 dead people. That little golden snake's status was clearly different. The surrounding ferocious beasts also looked at the little golden snake with reverence in their eyes. Lin Feng and the rest fought with the fierce beasts that were surrounding them, with the powerful defense of the mysterious sky treasure pagoda. Lin Feng and the rest blocked wave after wave of fierce beasts. The fierce beasts were directly killed by Lin Feng, Du Zu, and the heretic sovereign saint, their corpses lying in the forest. To catch bandits, first capture the leader. To shoot a man, first shoot the horse. Let's get rid of that little golden snake first. Chapter 3079. Lin Feng didn't know the identity of the little golden snake, but since it could command other beasts, it must be extraordinary. The heavenly mystery pagoda formed a powerful defense, blocking the attacks of the surrounding beasts. Du Zu and the heretic sovereign saint followed closely behind Lin Feng. The 3 of them attacked and defended well, and their cooperation was flawless. With the 3 of them working together, they killed the powerful beasts while quickly approaching the little golden snake. Trash! Trash! All of you are trash. The little golden snake saw that Lin Feng and the other two weren't killed after a long time and couldn't help but roar with extreme anger. This little golden snake's temper wasn't good, and it was very irritable. It was even more so now, and its eyes flashed with a sinister and resentful light. Lin Feng and the other two finally tore open an opening, and then quickly attacked the little golden snake. They were as fast as lightning, and soon arrived beside the little golden snake, and then launched a powerful attack on the little golden snake. Lin Feng wielded the stone sword and slashed at the little golden snake, while Du Zhu continued to use the myriad poison art, an unparalleled and powerful poison art, to kill the little golden snake. As for the heretic sovereign saint, he used another powerful ability, and evil chi rolled in the surroundings. Chains appeared in the midst of the powerful evil energy. Those chains sealed the world and prevented the little golden snake from leaving. The little golden snake's eyes were extremely gloomy. It clearly didn't want to fight Lin Feng and the other two head-on, so the little golden snake wanted to break out, but it couldn't do so. Lin Feng and the other two trapped the little golden snake. Moreover, after being poisoned by Du Zhu's poison, the little golden snake's movements clearly became sluggish. Lin Feng's stone sword had already slashed at the little golden snake's body. A clanging sound of collision was heard. The tyrannical attack on the little golden snake's body actually produced a clanging sound, but it couldn't tear the little golden snake's body apart. This was the stone sword, which could easily kill foreign creatures, but it couldn't cut through the little golden snake's body. It was unbelievable. It hurts to death. It hurts to death. The little golden snake wasn't completely unharmed after taking the stone sword's attack, and at this moment, it couldn't help but cry out in pain. Crown Prince? What Crown Prince? Lin Feng, Du Zhu, and the heretic sovereign saint were shocked and puzzled. The little golden snake's body was extremely hard. Lin Feng and the others were astonished when they heard the little golden snake call itself Crown Prince. The little golden snake called itself Crown Prince, which was extremely strange. What kind of Crown Prince was this guy? Lin Feng's reaction. He didn't kill the little golden snake's body, and in the next moment, he quickly appeared in front of the little golden snake and grabbed the little golden snake. The little golden snake opened its mouth and bit at Lin Feng. This guy's poisonous fangs were exposed, and the venom was actually golden. It was extremely strange. It must be an extremely terrifying venom. Facing the little golden snake's attack, Lin Feng's expression was indifferent. He flicked his finger, and it immediately hit the little golden snake's weak point. In an instant, the little golden snake seemed to have been drained of all its strength. Its head drooped down. It was caught off guard. The little golden snake was directly knocked unconscious by Lin Feng's flick. Roar! The surrounding beasts all let out low roars, looking at Lin Feng with eyes full of killing intent. At this moment, Du Zhu and the heretic sovereign saint seemed to have become outsiders, and all the beasts' eyes were on Lin Feng. However, these beasts didn't surround Lin Feng. They wanted to kill Lin Feng. However, it was obvious that the little golden snake was now in Lin Feng's hands, and these beasts didn't dare to attack Lin Feng. Lin Feng used a restriction to imprison the little golden snake, then took out a porcelain bottle, opened the little golden snake's mouth, and took out the venom in the little golden snake's teeth. Lin Feng had seen all kinds of venom, but he had never seen a golden venom like this. The little golden snake was too extraordinary, and the venom in its teeth was definitely an extremely terrifying type of venom. What are you doing? At this moment, the little golden snake woke up and couldn't help but shout angrily. However, after its mouth was opened by Lin Feng, its voice sounded a little muffled. What do you think I'm doing? Lin Feng couldn't help but roll his eyes. In the next moment, the little golden snake let out a heart-wrenching roar. It was mad with hatred, and its killing intent towards Lin Feng was like a torrential river. Despite its noble status, it had been reduced to being a tool for Lin Feng to extract its venom. This made the little golden snake feel extremely sullen. It felt as if it had been humiliated endlessly. Kill, kill, kill. This crown prince will definitely kill you. The little golden snake continued to roar. I've decided to keep you in captivity and extract some snake venom every day. This snake venom should be very powerful, right? Lin Feng immediately smiled. Hearing Lin Feng's words, the little golden snake even had the thought of dying. Scram, all of you scram. Otherwise I'll kill it. Do you believe me? Lin Feng held the little golden snake in his hand as he threatened the terrifying beasts that were gathering around him. When the beasts saw the little golden snake in Lin Feng's hand, they became fearful and didn't dare to move forward. However, they didn't retreat. Instead, they surrounded Lin Feng, Du Zhu, and the heretic sovereign sage. Order these guys to open up a path. Lin Feng looked at the little golden snake and said, "Just wait for your death." The little golden snake sneered. I'll flick, I'll flick, I'll flick. Lin Feng aimed at the snake's 7 inches away from its body and suddenly jumped up. This was a fatal spot for snakes, and it couldn't be touched. It would cause great harm to them. This time, the little golden snake didn't faint like before. However, it was still severely injured, and it couldn't help but cry out in pain. The little golden snake hurriedly shouted, "Stop, stop, hurry up and stop." Although Lin Feng had only flicked the snake's weak spot a few times, it was still severely injured. In the end, the little golden snake chose to submit. It roared, "Scram! I'll kill anyone who dares to come close." The surrounding beasts hurriedly retreated, not daring to come any closer. Lin Feng, the poison ancestor, the evil Zun saint, and the evil ancestor flew away. Chapter 3080. The snake's expression was indifferent. It did not answer Lin Feng. Lin Feng sneered. "You're getting angry. I'm asking you a question. How dare you ignore me? You're asking for a beating." When the little golden snake heard Lin Feng, it was so scared that it started shivering. It did not want to go through that again. The physical damage was secondary. The key was the damage to one's mental state, which was especially fatal. The snake was so angry that it wanted to bite Lin Feng to death. However, it did not dare to offend Lin Feng too much. It was worried that Lin Feng would torture it again. Someone went to a place he shouldn't have and took something he shouldn't have. He angered the Beast Emperor of Lulan Island. The snake said. Lin Feng was shocked. He did not expect this to be the reason. Lin Feng had sensed the auras of several terrifying beasts. They were definitely high-level great emperors. Those beasts were probably not beast emperors. The word emperor meant supreme. Lulan Island, naturally, only had one supreme. What did they steal? Lin Feng asked. I don't know the details. The snake said. Lin Feng flicked the snake's weak spot, causing it to cry out in pain. Didn't you call yourself the Crown Prince? Since you call yourself the Crown Prince, that means the Beast Emperor is your father, right? How dare you say you don't know what was stolen? Lin Feng said indifferently. The snake wanted to cry, but had no tears. That's a forbidden area. Only the Beast Emperor can enter. I can't enter, so how can I know what's inside? Lin Feng was shocked. To think that such a place existed. It was too extraordinary. What kind of treasure was inside a forbidden area? Clearly, there was more than one treasure in a place like that. The cultivators who entered earlier had only taken one item. There must be many more treasures inside, right? Would he be able to gain anything inside? With that thought in mind, Lin Feng's heart pounded. However, Lin Feng didn't ask the little golden snake where the forbidden area was. This was to prevent the news of him entering the forbidden area from leaking out. Do you know where Lulon Island's treasure is? Lin Feng couldn't help but ask. He felt that since this little golden snake lived on Lulon Island, it was very likely that it knew something about the island's treasures. Perhaps he could find out about Lulon Island's treasures from him and obtain them in the end. Of course I do. If you keep going deeper and pass through the swamp of despair, you'll reach the place where the treasure is buried. The little golden snake said. This guy actually cooperated with him, which made Lin Feng very surprised. He looked at the golden snake and said, "You aren't lying to me, right?" "Of course not. I wouldn't dare to lie to you," the little golden snake said. Duzu said, "F***ck. You're so honest. You must be up to something." The heretic sovereign sage said, "That's right. This fellow doesn't seem honest at all. It might be scheming against us. We need to torture it a little. Only then will it talk." The little golden snake even had the urge to cry. If it didn't answer honestly, it would be seen as uncooperative. It would be tortured. If it answered honestly, it would be seen as a scheme. It would also be tortured. Hence, the little golden snake was so depressed that it wanted to die. "I'm really not lying. We can reach the place where the treasure is buried after passing through the swamp of despair. However, passing through the swamp of despair isn't easy," the little golden snake said. Lin Feng asked, "Have you ever passed through the swamp of despair before?" "No. The beast emperors have decreed that the beasts are not allowed to pass through the swamp of despair. The beasts are only active in the outer and central regions." The little golden snake said, "Are you sure you're not lying? If you're lying, you'll be tortured." Lin Feng said calmly, "How would I dare lie to you?" The little golden snake said with a sullen face. Even though he was furious, he wanted to chop Lin Feng into pieces and cut him into 1,000 pieces. He didn't care. However, the little golden snake hid it very well. It didn't show any of its negative emotions. The little golden snake was worried that Lin Feng would kill it if it showed any of its emotions. The beast horde spread out. They didn't dare to get close to Lin Feng, Du Zhu, or the heretic sovereign sage. The little golden snake's orders had already spread out. Boom! A terrifying aura spread out from afar. Upon sensing it, Lin Feng's face was filled with shock. The creature that emitted this aura was definitely a high-level great emperor. At the very least, it was in existence in the sovereign emperor realm. A terrifying creature has appeared. Let's leave quickly, Lin Feng said in a low voice and increased his speed. They had to leave this place quickly and get rid of the beast horde. Otherwise, the danger would never be resolved. Release the crown prince. Not long after, the terrifying creature appeared. It was a ferocious bird. It was a giant golden eagle. It was the king of the golden eagles. Lin Feng had seen the golden eagles in action before. He knew how terrifying they were. The king of the golden eagles was even more terrifying. Its aura was so overwhelming that it was suffocating. It was impossible to resist. "I'm a timid person. Don't get too close to me. Otherwise, I don't know what I'll do." Lin Feng raised the little golden snake in his hand. The little golden snake tried to break free from Lin Feng's grasp. However, its body was restrained. It couldn't break free from Lin Feng's grasp. "You should know that if you hurt me, you won't have a good ending," the little golden snake said with a gloomy expression. This was the first time it had been imprisoned. It was almost driving it crazy. Lin Feng said with a smile, "If I let you go, I'll end up in a worse state. I can guarantee you that I won't let the golden eagles make things difficult for you." The little golden snake said, "Do you think I should believe your nonsense?" Lin Feng said indifferently. Snakes were the most cunning and went back on their words. Therefore, he didn't believe the little golden snake's words. "Get lost. Otherwise, I don't mind killing your crown prince." Lin Feng looked coldly at the golden eagles. Lowly human ant, how dare you speak to me in such a tone? The golden eagles said coldly. Its bloodthirsty eyes stared coldly at Lin Feng. Chapter 3081. Lin Feng said calmly, "So what if I'm threatening you? I'm not joking with you. Don't think that I don't dare to kill this guy," said Lin Feng. He grabbed the little snake's body with both hands and started tearing it apart. The golden snake's body was so tough that it didn't move an inch. The little golden snake couldn't help but look at Lin Feng with disdain. This little golden snake seemed to have no other weak points on its body other than its 7 inches. Lin Feng couldn't help but be surprised by the strength of the little golden snake's body, but immediately after, he smiled coldly. He activated the Dracophon arm. His strength increased. He tore it apart. Ah! The little golden snake let out an incomparably mournful cry. "Spare me! Spare me! Don't kill me!" The golden snake screamed in fear. It was really scared now. Even with its perverted body, it couldn't resist Lin Feng's strength. The golden snake was terrified. It didn't even dare to imagine how strong Lin Feng's arms were. "Stop immediately. I'll leave now. Don't hurt the crown prince," the golden eagle king said with a gloomy expression. It was extremely sullen right now. It was actually being threatened by a human ant. It was so angry that it wanted to go crazy. The golden eagle king wanted to capture Lin Feng and torture Lin Feng. It wanted to see Lin Feng kneel in front of it and beg for mercy. However, the golden eagle king was afraid. It didn't dare to take the crown prince's life lightly. The beast emperor only had one son. If the crown prince died, the beast emperor would be furious. "What are you waiting for? Scram as far as you can. Don't let me see you again," Lin Feng said coldly. "Kid, if you dare to hurt the crown prince, I'll make sure you die a horrible death." The golden eagle king left behind a threatening sentence and quickly flew into the sky, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Lin Feng grabbed the little golden snake and quickly left with Du Zhu and the heretic sovereign Holy. Because the golden snake was in Lin Feng's hands, the other beasts did not dare to attack Lin Feng and the others. In the end, Lin Feng and the other 2 managed to shake off the horde of beasts. "Can you let me go now?" the little golden snake said. "What's the hurry? I feel very safe with you by my side." Lin Feng grinned. When the little golden snake heard Lin Feng's words, it almost burst into tears. Lin Feng felt safe, but it didn't. "What will it take for you to let me go?" the little golden snake asked. "How about this? Can you be my mount for the time being? When I leave this place, I'll let you go." Lin Feng revealed a fiendish smile. "Just kill me. Just kill me. The noble golden tyrant serpent clan will never become someone's mount. Even if it's for a day, 2 hours, or even a second, it's impossible." The little golden snake couldn't help but roar. Its attitude was firm, as if it was facing death with equanimity. "Du Zhu, take out all the top-grade spirit medicines you have that can make even the holy maiden go crazy. Then feed them to this guy," Lin Feng said with a smile. The little golden snake's expression turned unsightly. "Top-grade spirit medicines, my ass." Just from the name alone, it was obvious what kind of medicine it was. If it really ate those medicines, who knew what kind of terrifying things would happen? The little golden snake had always thought of itself as a fiend. Whether it was the beasts in the forest or the cultivators on Lulon Island, there was no one who did not fear it. Now, it knew what a true fiend was. A true fiend was someone like Lin Feng. He was unforgivably evil. He was even more evil than the devils of hell. It was truly unlucky to have fallen into Lin Feng's hands. "You win." The little golden snake's expression turned gloomy. "Now open your soul. I need to set up a restriction. I don't want you to betray me. Lin Feng said. The little golden snake was extremely unwilling in its heart, but it had no other choice but to submit. It didn't want to die. If it wanted to live, it had to listen to everything Lin Feng said. The little golden snake opened its soul and allowed Lin Feng to place a soul restriction on it. After that, Lin Feng was able to control the little golden snake for the time being. Lin Feng removed the restriction on the little golden snake's body. The little golden snake's magic power instantly recovered. In truth, the little golden snake was extremely powerful. However, it had encountered Lin Feng, Du Zhu, and the heretic sovereign, Holy Maiden. The three of them cooperated very well, so they quickly suppressed the little golden snake. Right now, Du Zhu could break through to the Emperor realm anytime. The heretic sovereign, Holy Maiden's physical body wasn't any weaker than Lin Feng's. He also lacked an opportunity to break through. Grow bigger, Lin Feng said. The little golden snake nodded with a gloomy expression. Then it turned into a huge golden snake that was over 10 meters long. It quickly flew through the forest. Late at night, beastly roars could be heard from the forest. Lin Feng, Du Zhu, the heretic sovereign Holy Maiden, and the little golden snake all surrounded the bonfire. There was delicious food roasting on the bonfire. The aroma was enticing. This was Lin Feng's best roast meat. It was enough to make anyone drool. Roast meat paired with a pot of wine was simply the greatest enjoyment. Soon, the roast meat was ready. Then, the four of them started eating. The little golden snake wolfed down the food as if it hadn't eaten anything before. No one would doubt it if it was the reincarnation of a hungry ghost. In the latter half of the night, Lin Feng saw a cultivator walking over from afar. It was an old man. His body was as thin as a stick. When he saw the old man, Lin Feng's face was filled with shock. It was him, that mummified old man. In the past, Lin Feng received a mission from the underworld to escort a coffin into the underworld. The mummified old man was the existence that walked out of the coffin. He was released by Lin Feng and the immeasurable Taoist. This existence was extremely terrifying. He had even entered the 18 levels of hell before. The underworld seemed to be his homeland. However, Lin Feng didn't know the identity of this mummified old man. Lin Feng still remembered that powerful cultivator in the underworld called the mummified old man Lord before he died. It was clear that this existence was very likely related to the underworld. Lin Feng hadn't seen him in a long time. Now, the mummified old man had actually come to Lulan Island. He didn't know why the mummified old man was here. Chapter 3082. Lin Feng would never forget the scene that happened in the past. He and Taoist Wu Liang saw with their own eyes that the underworld was empty after the old man was born. The underworld was the center of the underworld, although the status of the underworld was not as good as before after the disappearance of the underworld lord. But the prestige of the underworld was not something that anyone could challenge. There were still many powerful existences in the underworld, but even such a powerful underworld had been frightened to such an extent by the appearance of an old man who resembled a mummy. One could imagine how powerful the old man was in the past. As time passed, the world changed. After he woke up from his slumber, he seemed to be looking for something. Lin Feng did not know what he was looking for. Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang had followed the old man to many places in the underworld. The old man did not stop them. Perhaps it was because the old man felt that he was released by Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang. Therefore, he would treat them differently. Who is that? Du Zhu, the evil dominator saint, and the little golden snake flew out. The little golden snake asked in confusion, "An existence that should not be mentioned." Lin Feng said. He didn't say much. The mummified old man was too powerful. He didn't know if mentioning the mummified old man without permission would cause unnecessary trouble. That was why Lin Feng did not talk about this mysterious and terrifying existence in private. "I don't want to sleep anymore. Let's travel through the night," Lin Feng said. The little golden snake's face darkened again. It had become Lin Feng's personal mount. This made the little golden snake extremely depressed. Every time Lin Feng was about to set off, it meant that it had to expand its body again and carry Lin Feng, Du Zhu, and the evil dominator saint. But the little golden snake could not resist Lin Feng now. "Bring us to the forbidden area," Lin Feng said. Previously, Lin Feng hadn't planned on asking the golden snake about the forbidden area because Lin Feng was worried that the golden snake would have a way to leak the information. At that time, it would be extremely dangerous, and he might even die there. Moreover, even if he didn't ask the little golden snake, the forbidden area wasn't hard to find. He could find some psychic vicious beasts and search their souls to find out where the forbidden area was, because the forbidden area wasn't hidden. Just like the death zones in the outside world, many people knew where the death zones were, so it was not difficult to find them. Now that Lin Feng had asked about the forbidden area, he wasn't afraid that the little golden snake would tell him anything, because Lin Feng could sense the little golden snake's movements. If the little golden snake used a secret technique, it would spread the news. At that time, Lin Feng would definitely be able to detect all of this. Lin Feng knew that the little golden snake knew this as well, so he believed that the little golden snake would not take the risk unless it was tired of living. "Why are you asking this?" The little golden snake looked at Lin Feng vigilantly. Then it remembered how terrifying the forbidden area was. "Could it be that you also want to attack the forbidden area?" asked the little golden snake, looking at Lin Feng cautiously. "Yes, I am." Lin Feng grinned and did not deny it. What exactly was in the forbidden area that had been guarded by generations of beast emperors? Even without entering it, one could still guess. "I can take you there. But let me put it bluntly, I've never entered the forbidden area, so don't expect me to lead the way for you. Although I'm the son of the beast emperor, the restrictions in the forbidden area don't recognize people," the little golden snake said. "Of course. Don't worry about that," Lin Feng said. The little golden snake sighed in relief. It had been really worried that Lin Feng would ask it to lead the way in the forbidden area. At that time, he might really die without a burial ground. "Aren't you worried about going to the forbidden area guarded by your father to steal the treasures inside? Why do you still look so excited?" the heretic sovereign sage muttered. Lin Feng pursed his lips and said, "This fellow thinks that we'll definitely die in the forbidden area. Of course it's happy." "I don't think that way," the little golden snake hurriedly said, denying it. It was very worried that Lin Feng's group would kill it before entering the forbidden area. If it could trick the three of them into the forbidden area, they would definitely die. After all, the forbidden area was too dangerous, enough to trap and kill a great emperor. Apart from the various restrictions in the forbidden area, what other dangers are there? Lin Feng couldn't help but ask. Before entering the forbidden area, he wanted to be fully prepared so that he wouldn't be caught off guard. "There might be some terrifying creatures, but I don't know the specifics. Everything in the forbidden area is a mystery to everyone except the beast emperor." Lin Feng could sense the little golden snake's emotions fluctuating. The little golden snake wasn't lying. It really didn't know much about the forbidden area. 3 days later, Lin Feng's group arrived at the outer region of the forbidden area. Boom! A terrifying aura spread out. terrifying creatures were fighting in the depths of the forbidden area. Not long after, Lin Feng saw the creatures fighting. It was a giant dragon with 8 wings. That dragon was entirely golden in color. It was a golden dragon with a monstrous aura. This golden dragon's aura was even stronger than the golden eagle King Lin Feng had seen before. This is one of the beast kings of Lulan Island. After that incident, Father sent it here to guard the forbidden area. The little golden snake said. Lin Feng also recognized the existence fighting the golden dragon. It was none other than the divine Firmament King. He was a super genius from the sacred god clan, the #1 race of the myriad races. He was so terrifying that the mountains and rivers lost their color. He was young, but he had already walked a very long distance in the great emperor realm. The battle between the two was extremely intense. However, it was very difficult to determine the victor. Where's the beast emperor? Lin Feng was puzzled. He didn't see the beast emperor anywhere. Father went to do something very important. Otherwise, do you think anyone would be able to bring something out of the forbidden area? The little golden snake said. When it mentioned the beast emperor, its face was filled with pride. Boom, boom, boom. At that moment, 3 more terrifying auras came from the forest in the distance. 3 experts flew over. One of them was from the myriad races, one was from an alien race, and the last one was from the dark world. All 3 were great emperors. They were also eyeing the treasures in the forbidden area. So many great emperors have come. This is going to be troublesome. Seeing the arrival of the other 3 great emperors. Chapter 3083. Lin Feng knew this Dwarch from the myriad races. He was none other than Shen Chu. This was a Dwarch that had existed since the primordial era. He had existed for even longer than Shun Yueyao, who had been killed. His battle prowess was also much stronger. Shun Chu was very ruthless and was very good at scheming. Hence, no one dared to provoke him. The arch from the outside world came from the Star Moon race. This existence was called Xing Luochen. He looked quite young, but he had already cultivated for 720,000 years. He was also an extremely terrifying existence. Lin Feng had seen the Star Moon race's prodigy, Xing Yuchen. Xing Yuchen was this person's nephew. The Dark World's cultivator was shrouded in darkness, emitting a sinister and terrifying aura. This person was called the Dark World Dwarch. He was an extremely terrifying existence. His cultivation level could definitely be described as unfathomable. Even in a great world like the Dark World, where experts were as common as clouds, he could be considered a top-notch expert. From this, one could see how powerful this person was. The 3 Thearchs arrived together. They were very shocked when they saw the divine Firmament King fighting the Golden Dragon. They had long heard of the divine Firmament King's reputation. The 3 Thearchs were actually very jealous of the divine Firmament King. They had achieved their current achievements over hundreds of thousands or even millions of years. Meanwhile, the divine Firmament King was only 18,000 years old. His achievements were not inferior to theirs. Naturally, the 3 Thearchs were jealous. Everyone, follow me to slay this golden colossal dragon. The divine Firmament King said after seeing the 3 Thearchs. Originally, the 3 Thearchs had wanted to ignore this matter and directly bypass the divine Firmament King and the golden dragon to enter the forbidden grounds. Then they would take the treasures in the forbidden area. But now that the divine Firmament King had spoken, they could not do it so openly, because that was equivalent to completely ignoring the divine Firmament King. Perhaps they would completely offend the divine Firmament King because of this matter. Although they were very jealous of the Divine Firmament King's achievements, the three Thearchs had to admit that they could not afford to offend the Divine Firmament King. In terms of family background, the Divine Firmament King was an expert from the sacred god race. In terms of strength, although the three of them were very powerful, no one dared to say that they could definitely defeat the Divine Firmament King. In fact, they did not even know what level the Divine Firmament King's cultivation had stopped at. 10,000 years ago, the Divine Firmament King had killed an immortal emperor-level expert. Not to mention now, in terms of age, the youngest among the three of them was Xing Luochen. However, Xing Luochen had already cultivated for 720,000 years. The Divine Firmament King was only around 18,000 years old. In terms of potential, the Divine Firmament King had become a Thearch at the age of 40, who could compare to such talent. Offending an existence like the Divine Firmament King was definitely not a wise thing to do. Therefore, when the Divine Firmament King called them over, they had no choice but to join the Divine Firmament King in dealing with the Golden Dragon. This Divine Firmament King is not a pedantic person. He's not the kind of person who is blindly arrogant. He knows how to be flexible. Lin Feng could not help but mutter to himself. If it was any other great emperor, they might not take the initiative to ask other great emperors for help because they had no obligation to help them. However, the Divine Firmament King clearly did not think so. The Divine Firmament King had used his power to make such a request. Although the three great emperors were extremely unwilling, they did not dare to reject the Divine Firmament King's invitation. Ha 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 ha, so it's the Divine Firmament King. Nice to meet you. The other three great emperors were also shrewd people. Since they could not avoid this matter, they chose to face it with a smile. Although they were extremely unwilling to make a move at this time, their faces were full of smiles. Each of them was more sincere than the other, but only the three of them knew the reluctance in their hearts. Thank you for your help, fellow Taoists. The Divine Firmament King smiled slightly. His smile was very charming. It really made one feel like they were bathing in the spring breeze. The Divine Firmament King joined forces with the other three great emperors to attack the Golden Dragon. The Golden Dragon was very powerful. However, it could not withstand the attacks of the Divine Firmament King and the other three great emperors. This Divine Firmament King is obviously holding back. He's not using his full strength at all, said Du Zhu. Lin Feng nodded. He also had the same feeling. The Divine Firmament King had not used his full strength. He had only used a portion of his battle prowess. Even so, it was already terrifying enough. The Divine Firmament King's strength. People couldn't help but be shocked and aghast. If the Divine Firmament King had used his full strength, he might have been able to kill the Golden Dragon himself. This is the forbidden ground guarded by the Beast Emperor. You dare to trespass here? You're courting death. The Golden Dragon roared angrily. Cut the crap. Go to hell. The Dark Emperor's expression was extremely cold. He held a blood-red saber and circled behind the Divine Firmament King. Then he slashed at the Divine Firmament King. Slash! A tearing sound could be heard. A huge wound was torn open on the Golden Dragon's back. Blood immediately gushed out. The Golden Dragon could not help but cry out in pain. The Divine Firmament King, Shun Qi, and Xing Luochen attacked. Slash! 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 They each held powerful weapons and directly tore the Golden Dragon's body apart. The Golden Colossal Dragon was severely injured. In a situation where it was 1 against 4, the Golden Dragon was no match for the Divine Firmament King and the other three. Moreover, the Golden Dragon was severely injured. The Golden Dragon was in a very bad situation. The 4 of them could kill the Golden Colossal Dragon at any time. the Divine Firmament King, and the other three had prepared an even more powerful attack. They wanted to kill the Golden Dragon. Just as the Golden Dragon was about to be killed by the Divine Firmament King, a terrifying aura spread out from the void. That's Lin Feng, Du Zhu, and the Evil Supremacy Sage's eyes narrowed. A pair of huge eyes appeared in the void. It was a pair of cold eyes that made one's heart tremble. Although it was only a pair of eyes, anyone who saw those eyes would probably turn pale with fright. The Beast Emperor. It must be the Beast Emperor. Lin Feng could not help but take a deep breath. The pair of eyes that suddenly appeared was definitely the father of the Golden Snake, the terrifying Beast Emperor. Lin Feng, Du Zhu, and the Evil Supremacy Sage had not come into contact with the Beast Emperor before, so they did not know how powerful it was. Now, they only had to look at the Beast Emperor's eyes to feel a suffocating pressure. Chapter 3084. When the eye of the Beast Emperor appeared, the little golden snake's eyeballs started rolling around. This fellow was most likely up to some devious ideas. Lin Feng said calmly, "You better not play any tricks. Otherwise, I don't mind killing you directly." The little golden snake, who was originally up to no good, immediately became obedient after hearing Lin Feng's threat. It hurriedly said, "I'm not that kind of person. Young master, please don't misunderstand me like this. It's really a grievance comparable to June's snow." Lin Feng couldn't help but roll his eyes. This fellow actually knew about June's grievance. Lin Feng had the urge to slap him. "Lowly ants, how dare you touch my people? You're all courting death." A cold voice suddenly resounded between heaven and earth. Following that, 2 rays of cold light shot out from those terrifying eyes. Those 2 rays of cold light directly swept toward the 4 great experts. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Suddenly, those 2 rays of cold light actually split into 4 rays of cold light. The eye of the Beast Emperor was really powerful. The rays of light that swept out could actually split into 2. The 4 great experts didn't choose to meet the eye of the Beast Emperor's gaze head-on. They chose to quickly retreat to avoid the terrifying gaze of the eye of the Beast Emperor. However, the eye of the Beast Emperor's gaze directly locked onto their bodies, making it impossible for the 4 of them to dodge. They had no choice but to resist the eye of the Beast Emperor's gaze. The 4 great experts each used their divine abilities to block the eye of the Beast Emperor's gaze. The Divine Firmament King was indeed powerful. His attack directly dissolved the eye of the Beast Emperor's gaze. Shang-Chi was also very terrifying, although he was sent flying. He also blocked the eye of the Beast Emperor's gaze. The Emperor of the Dark World was sent flying. He couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. His face became as pale as a sheet of paper. A bloody hole appeared on Xing Luoqin's body. From the matter of resisting the eye of the Beast Emperor's gaze, one could see the strength of these 4 people. Among the 4 of them, the Divine Firmament King, who had cultivated for the shortest time, was actually the strongest. Next was Shang-Chi. Next was the Emperor of the Dark World. The weakest was Xing Luoqin. "My emperor is invincible." Seeing how powerful the eye of the Beast Emperor was, the giant golden dragon immediately shouted with great reverence. "Let's go." The Divine Firmament King said in a low voice. He was the first to fly into the distance. Then the other 3 earthen sovereigns also quickly flew into the distance. Myriad Emperor gaze. Right at this moment, the eye of the Beast Emperor shot out terrifying beams of light. The beams of light seemed to be able to destroy the world. The attack of the eye of the Beast Emperor was simply too powerful, shocking everyone. Puchi, puchi, puchi. 3 consecutive ripping sounds were heard as the bodies of the 3 cultivators were torn apart one after another. The Dark Tharch and Xing Luoqin were almost sliced in half at the waist. Only the divine Firmament King was unharmed. Then, the four of them used secret techniques to escape. The eye of the Beast Emperor had a cold look on its face, but it didn't chase after them. Maybe its power wasn't enough to support the eye of the Beast Emperor to chase after the four cultivators, or maybe there were other reasons. After the four experts escaped, the eye of the Beast Emperor quickly disappeared as well. The golden dragon let out a long roar and flew into a mountain range in the outer region of the forbidden area. There was a dragon's nest in that mountain range. That was the golden dragon's residence. Now that the golden dragon was severely injured, it hurriedly returned to its nest to recuperate. Seeing the golden dragon enter the dragon's nest, Lin Feng couldn't help but let out a long breath. His gaze then turned towards the area where the forbidden grounds were located. There were a range of mountains in that area, and they were emitting powerful energy waves. That area was like a land of death, emitting a power that made one's heart palpitate. Anyone who got close to the forbidden area would be turned into an undead spirit. That was definitely an extremely dangerous place. It was extremely dangerous, and one couldn't enter it casually. What's so special about this place that has been guarded by generations of beast emperors? Lin Feng couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. Then, he took the lead and flew toward the forbidden area. The little golden snake didn't want to follow Lin Feng in. Lin Feng let it wait outside. He wasn't afraid that the little golden snake would play any tricks. If the little golden snake really dared to play any tricks, then he would only need to use his divine sense to kill the little golden snake. Lin Feng, Du Zhu, and the heretic sovereign sage entered the forbidden area together. Sure enough, there were powerful restrictions everywhere. Ordinary people would have a hard time entering a place like this. However, Lin Feng was different. Lin Feng's mastery of formations was too profound. He could walk through all kinds of killing formations as if they were flat ground. The restrictions in the land of death were no trouble for Lin Feng. Even though the deployment spells in the forbidden area were terrifying, Lin Feng had the impression that the deployment spells there were at the same level as the deployment spells in the forbidden area. Therefore, the restrictions here couldn't cause too much trouble for Lin Feng. Under Lin Feng's lead, the three of them smoothly ventured deeper into the forbidden area. There were a total of 5 mountains in the forbidden area. They crossed 3 mountains in a row. They didn't encounter any danger until they arrived at the 4th mountain range. Dong, dong, dong. A very strange sound suddenly resounded. After hearing this sound, Lin Feng and the other 2 couldn't help but frown. This sound sounded very much like the sound of gongs and drums. But in this forbidden area, who would play gongs and drums here? Therefore, Lin Feng felt very strange. However, that sound was getting clearer and clearer. He, Du Zhu, and the heretic sovereign sage had been searching for the source of that sound, but they didn't find anything. They didn't know where that sound came from either. It was so strange that it made one's heart tremble. The souls of the Yang realm, the ghosts of the Nether realm. We came from the Nether realm. We want to take away the souls of the Yang realm. At this moment, a cold and terrifying aura spread between heaven and earth. Then, a series of eerie voices resounded. After hearing those eerie voices, Lin Feng's heart couldn't help but tremble. That voice was so strange and terrifying. It was like the voice of a soul reaper from the Nether realm. Clattering sounds could be heard. This was the sound of chains colliding. After hearing this sound, Lin Feng felt his body turn cold. Something unclean is about to appear, Du Zhu said with a solemn expression. Swish! A light flashed. Lin Feng hurriedly took out the mysterious iron box containing the dismembered corpse. Chapter 3085. Even after Lin Feng took out the mysterious metal box, the existence hiding in the dark still had no intention of revealing itself. However, that cold and terrifying aura grew thicker and thicker, causing one's hair to stand on end and turn pale with fright. Du Zhu and the heretic dominator saint had been using their abilities to search for the existence hiding in the dark, but to no avail. Clearly, the existence hiding in the dark had extraordinary means. It was not an easy task to find them. Clank, clank, clank. The sound of chains colliding rang out from time to time. However, it was impossible to pinpoint the source of this terrifying sound. It was as if it had come out of nowhere. The river Styx of hell is flowing. We are carrying the soul-locking chains. We are carrying the soul-locking chains. We will bring the souls of the living world back to hell. The voices rang out again. It was so eerie that it caused one's hair to stand on end. The existence hiding in the dark did not reveal itself. It was unknown if it was because it was jealous of Lin Feng's mysterious metal box that it did not make a move. Lin Feng felt that it was possible. However, they did not leave. This meant that although the mysterious metal box had caused the terrifying existence to be wary, it was unable to scare them away. This young master has been to hell before. There's no need to play tricks here. Hurry up and come out, Lin Feng said indifferently. Back when he was still an underworld envoy, Lin Feng had been to the underworld several times. He felt that the existence hiding in the dark was not playing tricks. Those existences should really be creatures of the underworld. Of course, Lin Feng could not tell what the existence hiding in the dark was because he had yet to see what they looked like. The creatures of the underworld were all strange. There were all kinds of creatures. Therefore, it was not easy for Lin Feng to determine what kind of creatures they were. But if Lin Feng could see them, he'd be able to guess what kind of race they were. When Lin Feng first entered the underworld, he had seen many different kinds of creatures. He had a certain understanding of them. Boom! At that moment, waves of terrifying aura filled the air. The terrifying aura was suffocating. It was simply too tyrannical. A huge pitch-black shadow appeared. The shadow held a huge chain in its hand, and there were two huge horns on its huge head. The horns seemed to be the horns of an ox. Could it be the legendary ox head? Du Zhu could not help but mutter. In the legends, the soul-reaping ox head and Horseface were. The ox head's weapon was a huge fork. The Horseface weapon was a huge chain. The division of labor between Oxhead and Horseface was extremely clear. The fork in Oxhead's hand possessed extremely powerful offensive power. When they encountered souls who dared to resist, the Oxheads would kill them. The chain in Horseface's hand was the legendary soul-binding chain. This chain could bind the soul of any living being. Once the soul was bound, it would be completely trapped. It did not matter if you were an immortal or a god. However, once you were bound by the chain, when the time came, you could only obediently be manipulated by the underworld's emissaries. However, the ox head that appeared in front of them was not holding a huge fork. It was a chain. Clearly, legends and legends could not be completely believed. Voila! The ox head directly took out the chain and swept it toward Lin Feng, Du Zhu, and the heretic dominator saint. When the chain swept over, the three of them instantly felt a suffocating aura envelop their bodies. At that moment, Lin Feng felt as if his soul was about to be devoured by endless darkness. The chain was very terrifying. It was not aimed at the physical body. It was aimed at the soul. The chain made Lin Feng feel as if he would forever sink into it. The feeling was very intense. Darkness devoured souls. They would never be able to wake up again. Death was coming. When death came, the soul would be entangled by the chain. Then it would be brought to hell by the soul-reaping envoy. The aura of death was so dense. After sensing that aura, Lin Feng's mind could not help but tremble. This aura was too familiar. When he entered the underworld back then, He could feel this aura of death everywhere in the underworld. At this extremely dangerous moment, Lin Feng hurriedly activated Lu Ya's powerful divine ability, the star chart. As Lu Ya's star chart operated, instantly, the feeling of being devoured by darkness and sinking into eternal oblivion dissipated. Lu Ya's star chart observation was indeed too powerful, and it was different. This soul technique could play an extremely crucial role in many situations, just like now. By relying on Lu Ya's stargazing chart, Lin Feng overcame the terrifying danger he had encountered earlier. He came back to his senses and saw the chains that wrapped around him. Lin Feng directly took out the stone sword. He held the stone sword with both hands and slashed at the chains that wrapped around him. Clang! The sound of a violent collision could not help but be heard. It was sonorous and deafening. Lin Feng's stone sword directly slashed at the chains that the bull-headed monster took out. Dense runes appeared on the chains. Each rune was surrounded by endless divine light. Those runes were filled with mystery. They contained power that was so powerful that it could not help but shock people. The power of Lin Feng's stone sword was extremely terrifying, but the power of the stone sword was dissolved by the runes. The origin of the runes on the chains was unknown. They were actually so extraordinary. However, Du Zhu and the evil Dominator Saint who heard the violent collision were startled awake. Despicable and go to hell, the bull-headed monster let out a cold voice. He opened his huge palm. The palm covered the sky and was surrounded by black fog. It directly suppressed Lin Feng, Du Zhu, and the evil Dominator Saint. That palm was simply too huge. It was like a mountain. The aura was heavy and oppressive. This bull-headed monster was extremely terrifying. Lin Feng, Du Zhu, and the evil Dominator Saint could not help but feel a chill in their hearts. Quickly retreat, Lin Feng shouted, and took the lead to retreat into the distance. Du Zhu and the evil Dominator Saint did not dare to hesitate and quickly retreated. Chapter 3086. The Minotaur was extremely powerful. Lin Feng and the other two were having a hard time dealing with it. Facing the attack of the Minotaur, Lin Feng was indifferent. He waved his hand. The bell of Hades flew out. This was the treasure passed down by the king of Hades. Lin Feng had mastered the skill of the bell of Hades. He was able to activate the power of the bell of Hades. If this creature was really from the underworld, it would definitely be restrained by the bell of Hades. If it wasn't, then it would just be playing tricks here. Lin Feng believed that he would be able to cause great damage to this terrifying creature if he used all his treasures. Boom! The bell of Hades vibrated and released a terrifying aura. Following that, a powerful aura spread out and enveloped the Minotaur. Feeling the powerful aura from the bell of Hades, the Minotaur was shocked. Bell of Hades! Despicable ant! You are the one who stole it. This bell of Hades was something that Lin Feng and Taoist Wu Liang had accidentally obtained when they followed the mummified old man into the underworld. This treasure was the treasure of the underworld. It was placed in the ancestral hall to guard the fate of the underworld. Now that it was in Lin Feng's hands, the people of the underworld hated Lin Feng to the bone. You are really from the underworld. Lin Feng looked at the Minotaur in shock. Return my bell of Hades. The Minotaur's voice was cold. A dense killing intent flashed in his eyes. He looked at Lin Feng coldly. He rushed towards Lin Feng and grabbed the bell of Hades. He wanted to snatch the bell of Hades away. Lin Feng used all his strength to activate the bell of Hades to deal with the Minotaur. Whoosh! At this moment, the Minotaur shot out a dazzling light beam. The power of that beam of light was extremely tyrannical. It was as if it could pierce through the void. Its power was boundless. Puchi! With a tearing sound, the light beam pierced through the Minotaur's palm. Blood immediately flowed out. The Minotaur let out an incomparably mournful cry. With his powerful cultivation, the injury on his palm was only a minor injury. However, the injuries caused by the bell of Hell King to these underworld creatures, even if it was a minor injury, they would still be able to withstand it. It would also cause great damage to these underworld creatures. Just like at this moment, the bull-headed monster was severely injured and its body was sent flying. Its expression was extremely gloomy and its eyes flickered with dense killing intent. "Damn it! Damn it!" The Minotaur roared angrily. Lin Feng, on the other hand, was overjoyed. He continued to urge the Hell King's bell to launch an even more powerful attack on the Minotaur. The Minotaur knew how much damage the Bell of Pluto could inflict on him, so it didn't want to continue fighting with Lin Feng. It said coldly, "Kid, you stole the treasure of the underworld. You will die a horrible death. Anyone who offends the underworld will not have a good ending. As the saying goes, if the King of Hell wants you to die at midnight, he will not let you live until dawn." The King of Hell represented the underworld. Offending the underworld was indeed an extremely dangerous thing. Moreover, the underworld controlled the passage from the underworld to the Yang realm. They could send powerful underworld creatures to deal with Lin Feng at any time. If it was anyone else who offended the underworld, they would be scared to death. However, Lin Feng wasn't afraid of the underworld. This was because the creatures of the underworld were creatures of the Yang realm. After coming to the Yang realm, these creatures were suppressed by the laws of the Yang realm and couldn't fight at all. Of course, the most important thing was that Lin Feng controlled a treasure like the Hell King's bell, which could suppress the creatures of the underworld. Therefore, Lin Feng was even less afraid of the underworld. Now that the underworld is divided, the underworld can't even control the matters of the underworld. How can it control the matters of the Yang realm? What a joke! Moreover, I remember that the senior you call Lord scared everyone in the underworld away before he even reached the underworld. I followed that senior to rob the treasures of the underworld. So, you people of the underworld should pray for yourselves. Lin Feng said indifferently. "Humph." However, the Minotaur snorted coldly. What Lin Feng said was the truth, which made the Minotaur extremely angry and aggrieved. The Minotaur couldn't wait to kill Lin Feng immediately, but Lin Feng controlled the Hell King's bell. Therefore, the Minotaur couldn't compete with Lin Feng for the time being. Therefore, it had no choice but to leave. The Minotaur's body gradually became illusory and soon disappeared without a trace. This guy is really a creature of the underworld. Duzu couldn't help but sigh. The methods of these creatures of the underworld are extremely strange. These guys are also extremely hateful. Lin Feng said. The three of them didn't stop and continued to walk deeper. After successfully crossing the fourth mountain range, the three of them arrived at the fifth mountain range. Then they saw a mountain peak that was 10,000 meters tall in the fifth mountain range. Halfway up the mountain, there was a huge cave, and at the top of the cave, there was a huge golden snake coiled up. The giant golden snake was not a real giant snake, but a giant snake that had been carved into it. This should be the core of the forbidden area, Du Zhu said excitedly. Lin Feng nodded. The three of them quickly walked towards the cave. Suddenly, the golden snake's eyes flashed with a cold light. Then, the golden snake carved on the mountain came to life. Swish, 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 swish. They swept towards Lin Feng, Du Zhu, and the heretic dominator sage. Those swish, 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 swish. Heavenly Mystery Pagoda. Swish. Lin Feng waved his hand. He quickly took out the heavenly mystery pagoda to defend himself. Swish, 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 swish. The heavenly mystery pagoda's defensive barrier started to crack. Seeing this, Lin Feng and the others were shocked. That was too unbelievable. It was truly terrifying. The heavenly mystery pagoda's defense was so strong. Yet, it couldn't block the golden snake's attack. "Let's go," shouted Lin Feng. He sped up and rushed towards the cave. The heavenly mystery pagoda's defensive barrier only lasted 3 waves of attacks before it was completely destroyed. However, Lin Feng and the others had already rushed into the cave. Chapter 3087. Inside the cave, there was a winding path. The winding path was like the body of a dragon. The poison ancestor said, "The beam attack from the giant golden snake's eyes is exactly the same as the attack from the beast emperor's eye we saw before. It seems that this method should be their clan's innate ability." Lin Feng said, "That is indeed possible. This race is really powerful. Perhaps the golden snake will grow into a heaven-defying existence in the future." The 3 of them increased their speed and soon arrived at the first layer of stone room. The first layer of stone room was covered with restrictions. If they wanted to enter, they had to break the restrictions. After seeing the restrictions, Lin Feng felt a little depressed. They couldn't stay here for long, but it would take some time to break the restrictions. If the Beast Emperor came back while they were breaking the restrictions, wouldn't they be dead for sure? "Evil Sovereign Saint, go guard outside. If you see anything wrong, inform us immediately. We will leave immediately." Lin Feng said, "Yes, young master." After receiving Lin Feng's order, the Evil Sovereign Saint quickly rushed outside. He stood guard at the entrance of the cave, observing the surroundings for any signs of movement. Lin Feng seized the time to break the restrictions. After spending a total of 8 hours, Lin Feng finally broke the restrictions. The restriction here was broken by someone before. That's why I was able to break it so quickly. If the restriction here hadn't been broken by someone before, it would have taken a lot longer to break the restriction here now. Lin Feng couldn't help but say, in reality, 8 hours wasn't a short time because 2 hours were equivalent to 2 hours. Therefore, 8 hours was equivalent to 8 hours. Many unexpected things could happen in such a long time. Fortunately, the terrifying Beast Emperor didn't come. Young Master is too humble. Young Master's attainments and formations are unparalleled in the world. No one has been able to break the restrictions here before. Young Master will definitely be able to break the restrictions quickly, Duzu said with a grin. Bootlicker. Lin Feng couldn't help but twitch his mouth. He and Duzu pushed open the stone door and quickly entered. Inside the first stone room, demonic energy surged. There was actually a huge purple flower growing in the room. The huge purple flower had a diameter of about 5 meters. It was unknown what kind of flower it was, but it grew so big. It's the violet god flower. It's a spiritual root of heaven and earth. It's extremely rare. I've heard of it before, but this is the first time I've seen it, Duzu said in shock. This is the violet god flower. Lin Feng was extremely shocked. He suddenly recalled the violet god flower in the classic of Mountain and Sea. It gathered the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, swallowed the essence of the sun and moon, took root in the void, and was born within the purple light. The petals could give birth to spirits. Pollen could create all living things and possessed endless vitality. It was a violet god flower was a treasure. If such a treasure were to give birth to a living creature, it would be the legendary Holy Spirit. For example, Little Fairy was born from the azure lotus. She was born from the azure lotus and was filled with boundless immortal energy. However, Lin Feng hadn't seen Little Fairy for a while. He didn't know where she went. It hasn't given birth to a violet god flower, but the pollen is very precious. It's enough to shock the world. Duzu said excitedly. The most important thing for a treasure of this level was the pollen. The pollen contained boundless vitality. It was said that the pollen played an extremely important role in giving birth to a violet god flower. Whether a violet god flower could give birth to a violet god flower had a lot to do with the pollen. Now that the violet god flower's petals were slightly open, one could vaguely see the pollen inside. That expert didn't take such a treasure. When he came in, Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter. Perhaps the expert took something more precious and couldn't take the violet god flower in time. He had already been discovered. Thus, he had no choice but to retreat. Of course, there was also another possibility. The expert came here with a very strong purpose. He only took what he needed and didn't touch anything else. There were many such people in the world of cultivators. Lin Feng didn't care about what the expert had taken. His thoughts were now on the violet god flower. Lin Feng planned to dig the violet god flower out. However, he realized that he couldn't dig it out at all. There were powerful restrictions protecting the violet god flower. Even if he broke the restrictions, he couldn't take it away. This was because Lin Feng felt a destructive power from the restrictions. If the restriction was broken, it would be too late. At that time, the restrictions would directly destroy the violet god flower. Damn it! You'd rather destroy such a treasure than let others take it. How ruthless! Lin Feng couldn't help but curse under his breath. Then he pointed at the violet god flower. He pointed at the violet god flower. The petals of the violet god flower slowly opened. The violet god flower usually didn't bloom because it was giving birth to pollen. However, if the violet god flower bloomed, pollen would fly out from it. Now that the violet god flower had bloomed, Lin Feng hurriedly took out a porcelain vase and collected the violet god flower's pollen. When all of the pollen had floated out, the petals of the violet god flower closed again. Lin Feng collected the vase containing the violet god flower's pollen. Then, he and Duzu continued to search for other treasures in the first layer of stone room. However, they found nothing. Then, Lin Feng looked at the stone door of the second layer of stone room. When he came to the side of the stone door, he instantly felt a terrifying aura emanating from it. That aura was too terrifying. It was suffocating. If he got too close, he might even be killed. Quickly, retreat, Lin Feng said in a low voice. He and Duzu quickly retreated more than 10 meters. Only then did the terrifying aura disappear. Duzu said in shock, "This stone door is so scary." Lin Feng said, "It's not the stone door that's scary. It's the restrictions on the stone door that's scary." He frowned and said, "Let's go. The pollen is enough. The things inside aren't something we can pry into." Lin Feng knew his own limits. If there was hope, he could take a gamble. However, it was obvious that it would be very difficult for them to obtain the things inside the second stone door. The second stone door was too terrifying. There was no way to open it. Moreover, Lin Feng had never been a greedy person. The violet godflower's pollen was precious enough. If they only obtained the violet godflower's pollen, it would be a worthwhile trip. All right, Duzu nodded and quickly left the first stone room with Lin Feng. Chapter 3088. When the three of them rushed out of the cave, the giant golden snake came back to life and continued to attack Lin Feng and the other two. The three of them quickly escaped far away. They dodged the giant golden snake's attack. And the giant golden snake did not chase after them. Seeing Lin Feng and the other two walk out of the forbidden area, the little golden snake had an extremely depressed expression. Of course, this fellow hoped that Lin Feng and the other two would die in the forbidden area. But dreams were beautiful. Reality was cruel. Not only did Lin Feng and the other two come out safe and sound, and they also obtained the pollen of the purple godflower. The little golden snake's disappointed expression disappeared in a flash and quickly returned to normal. He did not want Lin Feng to see his inner thoughts. If Lin Feng guessed his thoughts, he was worried that Lin Feng would destroy him. The few of them quickly left and found a quiet place. The pollen of the purple godflower was extraordinary and could help a cultivator complete a transformation. It was said that the most precious part of the purple godflower's pollen was that it could help a cultivator complete a transformation of life level. What was a transformation of life level? For example, transforming from a sky god to a giant god was a transformation of life level. Transforming from a giant god to a boundary emperor was also a transformation of life level. Transforming from a boundary emperor to a great emperor was also a transformation of life level. Du Zhu and the evil dominator saint were both facing a transformation of life level, because the two of them could break through to the great emperor realm at any time, but they needed an opportunity. Now, the purple godflower might be their opportunity. Lin Feng divided the purple godflower into 3 parts, one for him, one for Du Zhu, and the other for the evil dominator saint. If Du Zhu and the evil dominator saint could break through to the great emperor realm, it would be a great help to Lin Feng. Du Zhu and the evil dominator saint were loyal to Lin Feng. They were Lin Feng's 2 most valued subordinates. Once they broke through to the great emperor realm, they would be able to share Lin Feng's burden. Therefore, Lin Feng looked forward to the 2 of them breaking through. Where's mine? The little golden snake also came over and stared at the porcelain bottle containing the purple godflower's pollen. Scram as far as you can. Lin Feng curled his lips and said, "Those are the treasures of my clan. Since you've stolen our clan's treasures, you should at least give me a share, right? I'm just borrowing it. I'll return it later." Lin Feng curled his lips and said. The little golden snake immediately rolled its eyes. Naturally, it did not believe that Lin Feng would say such words in the future. But now, it couldn't do anything to Lin Feng. Even though he was gnashing his teeth in hatred, he could only endure it. You're a prisoner now. Don't covet everything you see. Do you believe that I'll slaughter you and make you into a pot of snake soup? Du Zhu glared at the little golden snake. I'll endure it. I'll endure it. I'll endure it. The little golden snake tried its best to control its emotions. It cursed inwardly. Just wait until this crown prince escapes. See how this crown prince will deal with you all. Lin Feng and the other 2 ignored the little golden snake. They were preparing to refine the purple godflower's pollen. Lin Feng still had a long way to go before he could break through to the great emperor realm. However, he could still refine the purple godflower's pollen. The purple godflower's pollen could help him break through. Before entering seclusion, Lin Feng grabbed the little golden snake. Let me go. Let me go. The little golden snake roared furiously. Lin Feng ignored the little golden snake's resistance and threw it into the 4 ferocious cauldron. Then he suppressed the little golden snake. The reason he suppressed the little golden snake was because of its craftiness. Lin Feng was worried that the little golden snake would do something unfavorable to them while the 3 of them were in seclusion. After suppressing the little golden snake, the 3 of them entered seclusion. Lin Feng took out the pollen and absorbed it into his body. Instantly, Lin Feng's body produced a very strange feeling. He felt as if his body was about to float. In that instant, Lin Feng felt that he had disappeared from the cave and arrived in a world of flowers. This place was so beautiful. There was a woman standing in the world of flowers. She was dressed in white, and her figure was so alluring. However, her back was facing Lin Feng. Therefore, Lin Feng couldn't see what this woman looked like. "Beauty, turn around and let this young master take a look," Lin Feng shouted. The woman couldn't hear his voice because Lin Feng didn't belong to this world. Lin Feng really wanted to see what that woman looked like. Such an alluring figure. If she had a beautiful face, she would truly be a stunner. Finally, the woman gradually turned around. Lin Feng saw a side profile that was so beautiful that it could make one suffocate. So beautiful, Lin Feng couldn't help but sigh. This woman should only exist in the heavens. How many times could one see her in the human world? Lin Feng was looking forward to this beautiful woman turning around completely so that he could properly appreciate this woman's peerless appearance. But at this moment, this woman was like a beautiful butterfly among the flowers, flying into the distance. "Don't go. I really want to have a romantic relationship with you. Take off your clothes and treat me honestly," Lin Feng shouted and chased after her. After hearing Lin Feng's words, the woman seemed to be angered and casually swept her hand. A powerful force swept Lin Feng's body and directly sent Lin Feng flying. Ouch! Lin Feng couldn't help but cry out in pain. He recovered from that wondrous state. Flower fairy! Lin Feng was shocked. Just now, after inhaling the pollen, he vaguely saw a flower fairy. What a powerful energy! Soon, Lin Feng was shocked. This was because he realized that a large amount of energy had accumulated in his body. This energy was extremely vast and majestic, like a vast ocean. Lin Feng hurriedly absorbed the energy in his body. This energy was released after the pollen was decomposed. After refining this powerful energy, Lin Feng's cultivation increased by a total of 3 stone steps. In the end, Lin Feng's cultivation stopped at the 53rd stone step. At this moment, Du Zhu and the heretic sovereign saint were still in seclusion. The tribulation light between their eyebrows was getting stronger and stronger. Lin Feng quickly walked out of seclusion and saw that the sky was covered with dark clouds, lightning, and thunder. Clearly, Du Zhu and the heretic sovereign saint had begun to attract their own lightning tribulations. One day later, Du Zhu and the heretic sovereign saint came out of seclusion, one after another. Then they rushed up to the sky and began to undergo the great emperor tribulation. The two of them had accumulated a lot of energy. Moreover, it was equivalent to gaining a second life. They had comprehended many of the true meanings of life. The great emperor tribulation was extremely terrifying. However, Du Zhu and the heretic sovereign saint didn't disappoint. Chapter 3089. Lin Feng was very happy that Du Zhu and the heretic Lord Holy had both broken through to the emperor stage. Both of them were Lin Feng's right-hand men. For Lin Feng, breaking through to the next cultivation level was extremely important. After breaking through, the 3 of them quickly left the forest. Such a large commotion would definitely attract many powerful beings. As such, they couldn't stay here for too long. The Emperor stage is indeed the Emperor stage. As expected, sub-emperors can't compare to them. Du Zhu was extremely excited after breaking through. In the past, Du Zhu had once cultivated to the pinnacle of the sub-emperor stage. He was only 1 step away from breaking through to the emperor stage, but he was eventually suppressed. Furthermore, Du Zhu's physical body was destroyed, and his consciousness was almost destroyed. However, his body was quite special. His soul had fused with the lethal poison, and as a result, his soul remained intact. This was until Lin Feng released it. After experiencing life and death, Du Zhu's understanding of life, divine abilities, and the heavenly Tao was not something that ordinary people could compare to. The heretic Lord Holy was in a similar situation as Duzu. After being reborn, they finally broke through to the Emperor stage. Let's go to the Swamp of Despair, Lin Feng said. Along the way, he released the little golden snake that had been suppressed. Then, Lin Feng ordered the little golden snake to expand. The little golden snake's body quickly expanded. Then, Lin Feng and the others sat on the little golden snake's back. The little golden snake charged toward the Swamp of Despair like a bolt of lightning. The beast tide was gradually receding. More and more cultivators surged into Lulan Island, searching for the treasures on the island. They weren't the first group of cultivators to enter Lulan Island. Many groups of cultivators had entered Lulan Island before this. In particular, Feng Yarao's father, the heavenly wind god, had been searching for Lulan Island a long time ago. One had to realize that at that time, no one knew anything about Lulan Island. Lin Feng also only learned about Lulan Island at that time. Lin Feng was beginning to suspect that the appearance of Lulan Island had something to do with the heavenly wind god. Of course, he knew that this suspicion was baseless, so all of this was just a suspicion for now. Perhaps he would only learn about all of this after meeting the heavenly wind god in the future. The Swamp of Despair was an extremely dangerous place. When the little golden snake arrived at the Swamp of Despair, its expression was extremely ugly. What's in the Swamp of Despair? Lin Feng could not help but ask. This is a truly terrifying place. Father warned me not to enter the Swamp of Despair, but he didn't tell me what was inside. The little golden snake said, "Looks like some people really want to become snake soup." Lin Feng said flatly, the little golden snake was definitely not telling the truth. That was because Lin Feng could sense some of the changes in his emotions. Many of his words could not be trusted. "I'm telling the truth," the little golden snake said. "Take him down and behead him," Lin Feng said. "Hee, there's no need to go through so much trouble. I can kill this dishonest guy with a single palm." Duzu chuckled. The little golden snake hurriedly said, "Don't be impulsive. Impulsiveness is the devil. Now that I think about it, Imperial Father told me some secrets." "Oh, secrets? Are they related to the Swamp of Despair?" Lin Feng asked curiously. The little golden snake hurriedly nodded. "That's right. They're related to the Swamp of Despair. The Swamp of Despair is no ordinary place. It contains a huge secret. It's said that there's a demonic valley of despair in the depths of the Swamp of Despair. Within the demonic valley of despair lies an unimaginably terrifying being. Who is this being?" Lin Feng asked in shock. It's said that this being survived the primordial war. From this, we can see just how terrifying a Holy Spirit is. The little golden snake said. Lin Feng, Duzu, and the heretic holiness were all shocked. The cultivators of the primordial era were divided into many types. For example, the first type was born in the primordial era. Cultivators who rose to power after the primordial era and lived until now were naturally incomparably powerful. The second type was already extremely powerful during the primordial era and lived until now, becoming even more powerful. The third type was cultivators who rose to power during the primordial era and participated in the bitter war at the end of the primordial era. This type of cultivator was the most terrifying cultivator of the primordial era. However, this type of cultivator was extremely rare. Perhaps it would be difficult to find too many of them in the myriad of worlds. The fact that there was such an existence in the Swamp of Despair was truly inconceivable. At this time, the little golden snake continued. This terrifying being hides many shocking secrets. Even my father doesn't dare to provoke this being. The Swamp of Despair is where he hibernates. A place like this naturally contains endless dangers. The slightest carelessness can lead to death. Of course, the most terrifying danger comes from this ancient and terrifying being. He wakes up from time to time, and every time he wakes up, he'll definitely cause a disaster. Has your father seen this being before? Lin Feng couldn't help but ask. He felt that the little golden snake's father might have seen this terrifying being before. I've seen it in the past, but I only saw it from afar. I didn't dare to get close, the little golden snake said. Lin Feng asked a few more questions, but he couldn't get too much information about this terrifying being from the little golden snake, because the little golden snake's knowledge was limited. Moreover, what it knew was only occasionally mentioned by its father back in the day. Lin Feng said, "No matter what, we have to pass through the swamp of despair." Moreover, that sleeping, terrifying being might not necessarily wake up at this time. They entered the swamp of despair. Along the way, many people entered the swamp of despair. Most of them were cultivators from the myriad races, foreign races, and other foreign powers. This was because there were more experts from these three powers. The experts from the 9 prefectures couldn't be compared to the experts from these 3 powers. Therefore, whenever a great opportunity appeared, among the cultivators who came to search for these opportunities, the proportion of cultivators from the 9 prefectures was very small. Boom! A terrifying aura filled the air, emitting a suffocating fluctuation that shook the void and surged in all directions. A powerful beast rushed out from the depths of the swamp. It was a very strange beast. It looked like a crocodile, but its head was like a shark. This beast was extremely terrifying. However, there were many experts who entered the swamp of despair. Chapter 3090. That's a shark crocodile, an extremely terrifying beast. Most importantly, this shark crocodile is a social creature. Now that one shark crocodile is dead, there will definitely be more. Let's leave quickly. If we don't leave now, I'm afraid we won't be able to leave. The little golden snake said with a frightened expression. Only those who had seen the shark crocodile's methods knew how powerful it was. The little golden snake had seen the shark crocodile in action before. It was truly shocking. Then let's leave this place quickly, Lin Feng said in a deep voice. He increased his speed and rushed into the depths. Not long later, a terrifying aura came from behind. Huge shark crocodile crawled out from the swamp. The densely packed shark crocodile gathered together. There were over 1,000 shark crocodile in total. The shark crocodile's body was huge, and its combat strength was terrifying. These shark crocodile had bone spikes growing out from their backs. The shark crocodile that crawled out from the swamp roared loudly. Swish, swish, swish. With a flash of light, the bone spikes on the shark crocodile's back all flew out. Those bone spikes were like flying swords. A light strike, as though it could shatter heaven and earth. The power was extremely strong. It was truly unimaginable. The densely packed bone spikes gathered together and instantly turned into a sea of swords. The bone spikes that covered the sky and covered the earth stabbed towards the cultivators that passed by. Shark crocodile soared back. All living beings avoid. The little golden snake said, "Puff, puff, puff." Ripping sounds could be heard one after another. One cultivator after another was pierced by the bone spikes that flew out from the shark crocodile's back, dying tragically on the spot. The attacks of the shark crocodile group were simply too powerful. A large number of cultivators died. It was truly tragic. Lin Feng and the rest did not stay and quickly flew into the depths. Not long after, a shocking piece of news spread out from the swamp of despair. It was said that someone had discovered the Emperor Archaic Egg. Other than the Emperor Archaic Egg, there were more than 10 immortal phoenix grass. This immortal phoenix grass was very special. It was one of the materials used to cultivate the Emperor archaic egg. It could help the Emperor archaic egg to quickly hatch into an Emperor archaic. This news caused a huge uproar when it spread. This was because the Emperor archaic was simply too terrifying. He was one of the most powerful beings of the immemorial era. His wings shook slightly. He could tear apart the heavens and earth and kill great emperors. An item like the Emperor archaic egg would definitely tempt anyone. Now that an Emperor archaic egg had appeared in the Swamp of Despair, it was truly earth-shattering news. After hearing this news, Lin Feng was extremely shocked. He had an Emperor archaic egg with him. Who would have thought that there would be 3 Emperor archaic eggs in the Swamp of Despair? A creature like the Emperor archaic was too rare. If he could cultivate a few more Emperor archaic, it would be a great thing. When the time came, he would bring a few Emperor archaic out with him. It would be like slaying gods and slaying Buddhas. Demons, evil spirits, demons, and monsters flapped their wings. All of them were killed. Of course, apart from the Emperor archaic egg, the immortal phoenix grass was also a natural treasure that Lin Feng coveted. The primordial emperor butterfly egg in his possession could only be nurtured with special treasures of heaven and earth. It just so happened that the immortal phoenix grass could be used to cultivate the emperor archaic egg. If he could obtain the immortal phoenix grass, perhaps the emperor archaic egg in his possession could be hatched. Thinking of this, Lin Feng couldn't help but feel excited. If he could really hatch the emperor archaic egg, it would be too heaven-defying. Many cultivators flew towards the location of the Emperor archaic egg. It was said that the place was very dangerous. Not only were there powerful vicious beasts guarding the Emperor archaic egg, but there was also the immortal phoenix grass. Moreover, there were extremely powerful restriction arrays around the primordial royal butterfly egg and immortal phoenix grass. If one were to touch those restriction arrays, then only death would await them. However, this still couldn't stop everyone's enthusiasm. There was always a way out. When the boat reached the bridge, it would cross the bridge. Once they reached that place, perhaps there would be a way to solve these problems. Lin Feng and the others quickly flew towards that place. The location of the Emperor archaic egg was called the Black Demon Territory. It was an extremely dangerous place. The place emitted a terrifying aura. Black mist lingered around it. Moreover, there were large numbers of black demon beasts living there. The black demon beasts here were different from the black demon beasts outside. The black demon beasts here were all mutated black demon beasts. They had wings on their backs and scorpion-like tails. At the end of their tails, there was a barb. The barb had a blue luster and was clearly poisonous. By the time Lin Feng and the others arrived, a large number of cultivators were already fighting the black demon beasts. The black demon beast horde was very large. Under normal circumstances, no one would be willing to provoke such a terrifying creature. However, the Emperor archaic egg was simply too attractive. It was enough to make countless people risk their lives. Thus, more and more cultivators came to this place. There were even great emperors. The battle was extremely bitter. Large numbers of black demon beasts were killed. However, many cultivators were also killed by the black demon beasts. Blood flowed like a river. Corpses were everywhere. This was the cruelty of the cultivation world. In the cultivation world, there was killing and death everywhere. Such was the current situation. Too many ferocious beasts and cultivators had died in this battle. The black demon beasts were driven out. Then, a large number of cultivators rushed into the black demon territory. When they entered the black demon territory, they didn't find the Emperor archaic egg or the immortal phoenix grass. "We've been tricked," someone said with a gloomy expression, guessing that they had been tricked. "Who set this up?" Then someone roared angrily, his eyes filled with killing intent. His hatred was monstrous. This was because their companions had died in the previous battle. Rumble! Suddenly, a loud rumble resounded. Next, the surrounding formation runes intertwined and appeared, sealing off the area. Who dares to trick us? Many cultivators roared angrily. We don't want to target everyone. We just set up a trap to lure one person here. If this trap wasn't real, how could someone as cunning as that kid fall for it? A cold voice came from the void. Who did you set up a trap to lure here? Someone asked. Lin Feng, the other parties said. What? Lin Feng is here as well? Many cultivators were shocked. This was especially true for the cultivators from the myriad races, extraterrestrial races, and other external forces. Someone was targeting Lin Feng, wanting to kill Lin Feng. That was why they set up this trap. They suffered such great losses in order to lure Lin Feng here. Shua. Suddenly, a beam of light shone on Lin Feng's body. The next moment, Lin Feng disappeared without a trace. Chapter 3091. Swoosh. With a flash of light, Lin Feng appeared in another place. It was a quiet mountain forest. There was not even the slightest sound of wind rustling the grass. It was so quiet that it was almost eerie. The void was filled with densely intertwined runes. Every rune contained an incomparably powerful and terrifying power. These runes had originally existed in the mountain forest, but they were now being used by someone else. The person who did this was definitely an expert who had mastered countless wondrous techniques in order to scheme against Lin Feng. The other party could be said to have schemed for a long time. They had spent so much to deal with Lin Feng because they wanted to kill Lin Feng. Lin Feng had already guessed the other party's background. The myriad races, the Outerium races, and the cultivators from other powers. Apart from the cultivators from these three powers, who else would be so scheming to deal with him? Come out, there's no need to hide anymore. Lin Feng said with an indifferent expression. Ha 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 ha, Lin Feng, you're about to die today. Do you have any last words before you die? At that moment, an ugly creature with a human head and a bat body appeared. You think you can kill me with just a monster like you? Lin Feng could not help but mock. It was a cultivator from the myriad races Bloodbat clan. Lin Feng had seen cultivators from this clan before, but he did not have much interaction with them. This was his first time dealing with a cultivator from this clan. This clan was very terrifying and had great combat strength. Of course, the most important thing was that this clan's sacred spirit was extremely ugly and evil. The creature's pair of cold eyes flashed with a sinister light. When the Bloodbat clan's cultivator heard Lin Feng's contempt and disdain for him, his expression immediately turned gloomy. He said coldly, When you fall into my hands later, I'm looking forward to seeing how you beg for mercy. Lin Feng, we meet again. At that moment, a faint laugh suddenly came from the void. Following that, a young man stepped out of the void. This young master was incomparably handsome, and his cultivation was unfathomable. He was wearing a starry robe and looked very handsome. His smile was very gentle. However, in Lin Feng's eyes, there was a hint of awe in his smile. After seeing this young master, Lin Feng couldn't help but raise his eyebrows slightly. This person was none other than Xing Yuchen of the Star Moon clan. Lin Feng had seen this person a few times before, but he didn't have any grudges with Xing Yuchen. Now, that Xing Yuchen was also involved in the operation to kill him, it was naturally because it involved a lot of benefits. Lin Feng's magic treasures, divine abilities, all kinds of heavenly materials and earthly treasures, all kinds of cultivation resources, and so on. These were all things that could drive people crazy. These things were enough to make many people want to kill Lin Feng. Therefore, when he knew that someone was planning to kill Lin Feng, Xing Yuchen didn't hesitate to participate. He wanted to be a part of it. When Lin Feng was killed, a part of everything that originally belonged to Lin Feng would definitely belong to him. Who else is there? Come out together. Today, I want to see who wants to kill me. Lin Feng said with an indifferent expression. Lin Feng, you should have died long ago. Letting you die today is letting you off too easily. Lin Feng, even if you die 1,000 or 10,000 times, it won't be enough to regret your death. Ha 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 ha. After killing you, there will be no more geniuses in the 9 states. The fall of the 9 states will begin with your death. You are destined to live to see the fall of the 9 states. Laughter came out one after another. There were a total of 17 powerful existences. Each of them was exceptionally terrifying. These people were basically cultivators from the myriad races, the extraterritorial races, and other foreign forces. However, among these people, there were also cultivators from the human race. Lin Feng had seen this human cultivator before. It was Su Qianzong of the Geomaster lineage. This person was an amazing figure, one of the rising stars of the Geomaster lineage. Su Qianzong was the most talented person, and he was also the one who was most favored. Su Qianzong had mastered many powerful divine abilities, and his attainments in formations were extremely profound. In the Emperor battle, the ancestor of the Geomaster lineage was killed. The Geomaster lineage was furious. Su Qianzong's killing intent towards Lin Feng was naturally monstrous. Of course, what interested Su Qianzong the most was Lin Feng's inheritance of the heavenly master lineage. Su Qianzong was a cultivation maniac, and he was extremely obsessed with studying all kinds of formations. Therefore, his attainments in formations had reached a transcendent level. The inheritance of the Geomaster lineage could no longer satisfy Su Qianzong. Su Qianzong needed a more powerful inheritance. Lin Feng gave him hope, because Lin Feng was the successor of the heavenly master lineage. Besides Su Qianzong, Lin Feng also liked Gong Zhongnia. These were a few male cultivators that he knew. There were also a few female cultivators that Lin Feng knew. For example, the demonic woman that followed the son of the heavenly demon emperor. Every time Lin Feng saw this demonic woman, he would feel a little stunned, because this demonic woman was simply too beautiful. With an enchanting figure and a beautiful face, she was really a stunner. In addition, Lin Feng also saw Yu Lingxin. Like Xing Yuchen, she came from the Star Moon clan. However, they were not from the same clan. They came from the 2 great clans of the Star Moon clan, the Xing clan and the Yu clan. Fairy Yao Ji of the Heaven and Earth Great World also came here. She was like a fairy that fell from the 9 heavens to the mortal world. She was so beautiful and otherworldly. Now, she also wanted to kill Lin Feng. Besides these 3 peerless beauties, there was another woman. It was unknown what clan she was from, but she wore a black tight suit. It completely accentuated her graceful figure. It was so beautiful that it was suffocating. That peerless beauty was charming and flirtatious. When she saw Lin Feng looking at her, she even winked at Lin Feng. If one didn't know the specific situation, they would think that the peerless beauty was Lin Feng's old lover. In fact, both sides were at daggers drawn, and a life-and-death battle could break out at any time. What a big deal. In order to kill me, they actually sent a total of 17 top experts. Lin Feng looked at the 17 experts with an indifferent expression. Any one of these 17 people was the kind of person who had great luck and great opportunities. Any one of them was the kind of genius who could challenge people of a higher realm. Usually, it was too difficult to see such a group of geniuses. But now, in order to kill Lin Feng, these 17 top geniuses didn't hesitate to join forces. Although you and I are enemies, I have to admit that it won't be easy to kill you. Naturally, We have to be fully prepared. The ancient god clan's genius, Shun Daoqiong, said indifferently, "This lad has many tricks up his sleeve. We should end this quickly." Gong Zong, Nye said sinisterly. He began to circulate his magic power, preparing to kill Lin Feng. The others also began to circulate their magic power, condensing all kinds of powerful abilities. Chapter 3092. With so many experts joining forces, their attacks formed a torrent of attacks that headed straight for Lin Feng. They were already prepared. Furthermore, it was a flawless preparation. 17 experts joined forces. These people were extremely confident in themselves because they were indeed very powerful and had the strength to deal with Lin Feng. Facing the siege of 17 top experts, Lin Feng's expression could not help but turn serious. These 17 cultivators were not to be underestimated. Their combat strength was unusually strong. Now, Lin Feng did not dare to be careless. He waved his hand. Swoosh! With a flash of light, the Heavenly Mystery Pagoda flew out. Then, the Heavenly Mystery Pagoda released a dazzling light beam. After the light beam from the Heavenly Mystery Pagoda descended, it formed a powerful defensive light shield. The attacks from the 17 experts were instantly neutralized by the light shield formed by the Heavenly Mystery Pagoda. An Emperor-level defensive Dharma treasure was extremely powerful. It could easily block any cultivator's divine ability attack. Of course, this was only possible within a short period of time. If the battle continued for a long time, the Heavenly Mystery Pagoda's defensive system would also be destroyed by these people. Therefore, Lin Feng had to seize the time to kill these cultivators. Perhaps he could find a way to break out of the encirclement. No matter how strong his combat strength was, it would be difficult for him to withstand the siege of 17 cultivators. Lin Feng tried to kill a few of them. However, it was difficult for him to do so because there were simply too many of them. They could use powerful attacks to deal with Lin Feng at any time. Therefore, Lin Feng was now in trouble. Ha ha ha, Lin Feng, it seems like you're going to die today. One of the Sky Prides could not help but laugh out loud. After today, you'll be completely removed from the list. Then, another Sky Pride laughed coldly, with murderous intent. They continued to prepare powerful divine abilities to attack Lin Feng. If it was a battle of attrition, Lin Feng would naturally not be able to win against 17 of them. These 17 experts were holding back. Obviously, they wanted to slowly wear Lin Feng down. This was the best way. That way, they wouldn't suffer any casualties. If they were pushed too far, once a fierce battle broke out, even if they managed to kill Lin Feng, a few of them might be dragged down by Lin Feng. These cultivators didn't want that to happen. Therefore, they wanted to continuously consume Lin Feng's Fa Li. When Lin Feng's mana was almost depleted, his combat strength was greatly reduced. At that time, they would swarm him, kill Lin Feng, die. A new round of attacks was formed by the dozen or so experts. Lin Feng was still using the Heavenly Profound Pagoda to block their attacks. When their attacks landed on the Heavenly Profound Pagoda, the Heavenly Profound Pagoda suddenly emitted cracking sounds. Cracks had appeared on the defensive barrier formed by the Heavenly Profound Pagoda. After seeing those cracks, the Heavenly Profound Pagoda's defensive barrier began to crack. Lin Feng's expression changed greatly. With so many cracks, the Heavenly Profound Pagoda might not be able to withstand the attacks of these 17 experts. This kid's defensive barrier is about to be destroyed. Once it's destroyed, he won't be far from being killed by us. That's right. Once we break his defensive barrier, with our strength, killing him will be as easy as killing a dog. These prodigies said one after another. They looked at Lin Feng as if they were looking at a dead man. Anyone in this situation would feel incomparably troublesome. Damn it, should I use the 8-9 arcane art to kill them? Lin Feng's expression darkened. Waves of dense killing intent flashed across his heart. Using the 8-9 arcane art required a lot of courage. This was because the 8-9 arcane art caused too much damage to the body. Moreover, it consumed too much of one's lifespan. This was because there was a restriction to using the 8-9 arcane art. When one's cultivation was below 10 million years, using the 8-9 arcane art would immediately kill them. Only when one's cultivation exceeded 10 million years could they use the 8-9 arcane art. Right now, Lin Feng's lifespan was 80 million years. There was naturally no problem using the 8-9 arcane art. Lin Feng's 8-9 arcane art had already been cultivated to the 3rd level. This level of the 8-9 arcane art could increase one's battle strength by 8 times. The 17 cultivators in front of him were indeed terrifying. Lin Feng admitted this, and they were holding back. But wasn't he holding back as well? Lin Feng estimated that with his current strength, if he attacked with all his strength and then used the 8-9 arcane art, his battle strength would increase by 8 times. At that time, he might be able to kill all these people. However, at that time, he would still have 10 years of lifespan left. This was a lose-lose situation. Therefore, Lin Feng hesitated whether he should use the 8-9 arcane art to kill these guys. Among these people, there were many super powerful enemies. For example, Gong Zinya, this person hid very deeply. He was one of the most hidden young cultivators of the myriad races. Another example was Su Qianzong. This person's cultivation was powerful, and his attainments in formations were unfathomable. He was also an extremely terrifying existence. Among these 17 experts, many of them were heaven-defying existences. Their future achievements were limitless. Damn it, these people are courting death. Then I'll kill them. So what if I only have 10 years of lifespan left? I believe that within 10 years, I will definitely become an emperor. Lin Feng's eyes flashed with a ruthless gaze. The side effects of the 8-9 arcane art were very terrifying. 10 years of lifespan would disappear in the blink of an eye. Within these 10 years, no heavenly treasures or spirit pills that could increase one's lifespan would be able to increase it, unless one crossed a major realm within 10 years. Then, one would be able to break through the shackles of heaven and earth to extend their lifespan again. Now that the situation was critical, Lin Feng had already planned to use the 8-9 arcane art to kill these cultivators who had schemed against him. But at this moment, a terrifying aura was emitted from a huge valley in the distance. Then, endless black fog began to roll. The black fog quickly surged over, and there seemed to be some terrifying creature hibernating in the black fog. When he felt the terrifying aura emitted from the black fog, Lin Feng's heart trembled slightly. Could it be? Suddenly, Lin Feng thought of the ancient expert that the little golden snake had mentioned. The aura in the black fog was very ancient and incomparably terrifying. Lin Feng guessed that it was very likely that the ancient expert had awakened. Interesting, very interesting. I like to watch a show, but this battle of yours, 17 people besieging one person, isn't exciting enough. I want to see a more exciting battle. A cold voice came from the black fog. Not good, let's go. When the 17 experts besieging Lin Feng sensed the aura in the black fog, their expressions changed drastically, and they turned to flee. Lin Feng also quickly fled into the distance, but everyone failed. The rolling black fog swept over. Everyone was swept into it. Then, Chapter 3093, the demonic fog churned, covering the sky and covering the sun. Its power was terrifying. Everyone struggled violently, trying to break free from the demonic fog. However, it was useless. No matter how hard they tried, they could not break free. This evil fog that engulfed the world was truly a bit too frightening, causing others to be shaken. Was it really that undying expert from the primordial era? If that was really the case, then they would be in big trouble. So many people were swept away by this terrifying existence into a valley filled with birds and fragrant flowers. The valley was originally beautiful, but in an instant it became eerie. Everyone's face was gloomy. They no longer had the mood to continue fighting. Others might not know who it was, but Lin Feng had already guessed it. Therefore, his face turned even uglier. If it was really that existence who survived the primordial war, they were really finished. It would be easy for that existence to kill them. Is this the Devil's Valley of Despair? Lin Feng could not help but ask. The others looked at Lin Feng. They didn't know anything about this place. They hadn't thought that Lin Feng would know so much about it. They were astonished. You know, quite a lot. That mysterious existence said with a sneer. In that case, you're the cultivator from the Valley of Despair who survived the primordial war? Lin Feng continued. What? You survived the primordial war? Many people couldn't help but be shocked. The war at the end of the primordial era was one of the most terrifying wars of this era. It was comparable to the war between sentient life forms. After the war, most of the sentient life forms had fallen. It was rare to see any sentient life forms walking around the world. After the war, most of the immortals had fallen. It was rare to see any immortals walking around the world. These were two important turning points after the start of the new era. Now, the one who appeared here was actually an existence who survived the primordial war. What was his cultivation level? These 17 Heavens Prides, who had been scheming against Lin Feng, all had ugly expressions on their faces. They had thought that their scheme against Lin Feng was flawless. However, such an unforeseen event had occurred, and even they had fallen into the trap. After such a long time, there are still people in the outside world who remember me. It's really not easy. The voice of this supreme being spoke faintly, as though it was filled with emotions and sadness. Even after a long time had passed, time had not been able to erase him. Living from the primordial era until now, his lifespan was truly too long. Swish! At that moment, beams of demonic light appeared in the depths of the valley. Then a palace appeared faintly. Devil Palace of Despair. Everyone saw the name of the palace. The words Devil Palace of Despair were written with the blood of gods and devils, and they would never dry up. This palace should be the palace of that ancient expert. Since it was called the Demon Palace, it should be an expert of the demon path. How can you let us go? A Sky Pride asked. He felt that since this primeval existence hadn't made a move to kill them, he would definitely give them a chance to survive. It's simple. The 18 of you will fight. The one who survives will be able to leave this place. The expert from the immemorial era laughed sinisterly. Lin Feng's expression didn't change after hearing this. He had already guessed all the possible outcomes, so he wasn't surprised at all. As for the other 17 Sky Prides, their expressions changed drastically. They were originally allies, but now they were going to kill each other. In the end, only one of them could leave. This was truly too cruel. Whoosh, 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 the 17 Sky Prides, who were originally standing together, quickly separated. Now, everyone was feeling insecure. These 17 Sky Prides had originally formed a temporary alliance. Once they killed Lin Feng, this temporary alliance would then disband. Naturally, there wasn't much trust between these 17 Sky Prides. Let's do it. Let this seat watch an exciting battle. The ancient expert said sinisterly. His voice made everyone's hair stand on end. However, now that things had come to this, they no longer had any other choice. Let's kill Lin Feng first, then we'll fight it out. What do you think? One Sky Pride suggested. All right, the others nodded in agreement. Kill! The 17 Sky Prides shouted coldly and flew toward Lin Feng. Humph! Lin Feng's expression was indifferent. He took out the Heavenly Mystery Pagoda to defend himself. Boom, boom, boom. All sorts of powerful attacks came at him, but they were all blocked by Lin Feng's Heavenly Mystery Pagoda. Next, Lin Feng took out the Heavenly Drum, a supreme treasure. The moment the Heavenly Drum was taken out, the ancient expert exclaimed in surprise, as if he had recognized the Heavenly Drum in Lin Feng's hand. Dong, dong, dong. Lin Feng began to beat the Heavenly Drum. A series of earth-shattering sounds rang out, shaking the clouds and reverberating in all directions. After the Heavenly Drum was beaten, heavenly soldiers and generals formed. The heavenly soldiers and generals quickly rushed toward the group of people surrounding him. Sensing the strength of the heavenly soldiers and generals, the cultivators' expressions changed slightly, and they quickly retreated. They seemed to want to waste a lot of time to kill Lin Feng, just like before. Whoosh! Lin Feng locked onto one of them and quickly attacked. The cultivator he had locked onto was the Bloodback clan's cultivator. The others all started attacking Lin Feng, one after another. Lin Feng ignored the attacks. He instantly activated the 1 Qi into 3 pure ones and the 9 layers of Haki to form a magnetic field. The 3 Lin Fengs surrounded the Bloodback clan's cultivator. When the attacks of the other 16 experts arrived, Yi Zichen's eyes lit up. The Heavenly Mystery Pagoda's defense was instantly destroyed. During the previous battle, the Heavenly Mystery Pagoda's defense was almost destroyed. The Heavenly Mystery Pagoda needed some time to recover, so it was naturally difficult to hold on. The Heavenly Mystery Pagoda blocked most of the attacks. The remaining attacks were neutralized by Lin Feng's dermic immunity, which was recorded in the Great Immunity Technique. Go to hell! The 3 Lin Fengs attacked with all their might, and powerful attacks bombarded the Bloodback clan's cultivator. Coupled with the suppression of the magnetic field, the Bloodback clan's cultivator couldn't block Lin Feng's attacks at all. No, the Bloodback clan's cultivator let out a terrified roar. Puff! In the next moment, his body was torn apart, and he died on the spot. Chapter 3094. 1 Qi into 3 pure ones. Not bad. Not bad. This is a supreme divine ability passed down from Taoism. I didn't expect someone to know this divine ability. The immemorial era expert couldn't help but say, "This kid has extraordinary means. Now, we should put down our grudges and kill him first." Gong Zongye said. Lin Feng's combat strength had indeed made the others wary. Originally, they were still wary of each other, but now, many felt that they could let down their guard before killing Lin Feng. It wouldn't be too late for them to fight after killing Lin Feng. Then let's kill Lin Feng first, then settle our matters. Although one of us died, Lin Feng's Imperial Weapon Defensive Treasure has been destroyed. The 16 of us can easily kill him. Shun Daoqiong of the Ancient God Clan sneered. This person had an extremely high status in the Ancient God Clan. It was said that he was one of the 5 supreme prodigies of the younger generation. His status was even higher than Shun Daotian's. Moreover, this person was extremely terrifying. Coupled with his powerful bloodline, his future was limitless. Now that he was trapped here, he was only thinking about how to get out. His rallying power was still very strong. His words made many people let down their guard, and they all surrounded Lin Feng. Great Sun Demonic Palm. Heaven and Earth Dragon Subduing Technique. 9 Revolution. Stars Transformation. Immortal Dragon Technique. Immemorial Divine King Dao. And so on and so forth. All kinds of powerful divine abilities were displayed, and all of them were aimed at Lin Feng. There were a total of 16 divine abilities, and the cultivators who displayed these divine abilities were extremely powerful. Ordinary people couldn't contend with these terrifying existences at all. Although Lin Feng was strong enough, it was too difficult for him to fight against so many top prodigies alone. When those attacks came, the 16 experts looked at Lin Feng coldly, as if they were looking at a dead man. Perhaps in their opinion, Lin Feng was dead for sure, and there was no way he could turn the situation around. It was no wonder that they had such thoughts. After all, the combined combat strength of these people was too terrifying. Heaven-mending technique. When the attacks of the 16 experts were about to drown Lin Feng used the powerful heaven-mending art. He wanted to borrow another chance from the heavens. This was the miraculous aspect of the heaven-mending art. Lin Feng relied on the miraculous nature of the heaven-mending art. When Lin Feng reappeared, he was already behind one of the myriad races, Sky Prides. This was a cultivator from the Sacred Demon Tribe. The Sacred Demon Tribe was one of the 10 great royal families of the myriad races. It was an extremely terrifying force. Back then, Lin Feng had killed the Sacred Demon Tribe's Sacred Demon Prince. However, this was something that happened many years ago. Since then, he didn't have any interactions with the Sacred Demon Tribe. Lin Feng and his 2 avatars struck out at the Sky Pride of the Sacred Demon Tribe. Not good. Although the Sacred Demon Race's prodigy did not see what was going on behind them. However, he could feel an unprecedented aura of death enveloping his entire body. The Sacred Demon Tribe genius wanted to escape through the void. However, he wasn't able to do so. This was because Lin Feng's 9 layers of domineering aura superimposed on the magnetic field. In addition, one of his avatars were too powerful. The Sacred Demon Tribe genius couldn't dodge at all. He wanted to turn around to counter Lin Feng's attack, but it was already too late. Bang! 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 3 consecutive punches. Lin Feng and his 2 avatars struck the Sacred Demon Tribe's Sacred Demon Prince's body. In an instant, the Sacred Demon Tribe's Sacred Demon Prince's body exploded. How is this possible? Many Sky Pride's expressions couldn't help but darken. Originally, they thought that they could definitely kill Lin Feng. However, they didn't expect such an outcome. Not only did they fail to kill Lin Feng together, but Lin Feng had also killed one of their experts. Although this kid's means are extraordinary, there must be a great limit to this kind of divine ability. It is very difficult to use this kind of divine ability continuously. Since he has already used that divine ability just now, he shouldn't be able to use it again in a short period of time. Now is a great opportunity for us to kill him. A Sky Pride from the Blood Star tribe said. Lin Feng raised his eyebrows slightly. This person's eyes were quite sharp. Lin Feng's current situation was indeed as this person had said. Although the heaven patching technique was extremely miraculous, it had a cool-down period. After using it once, it couldn't be used a second time within 3 days. Lin Feng also knew a great death substitution technique. Using this divine ability, he could avoid another calamity. At that time, he should be able to kill one more person. At that time, out of the 17 experts on the other side, there were still 14 left. He would then use the 8-9 arcane art to have a final battle with them. Lin Feng felt that with the 8-9 arcane art, he should be able to kill the remaining 14 experts. However, Lin Feng didn't know if the actual situation would be the same as what he expected. After all, people like Gong Nye, Fairy Yao Ji, and the others were all people who had hidden very deeply. Perhaps they also had some terrifying techniques that could increase their battle prowess. When the time came, he could use them to offset the increase in battle prowess brought by the 8-9 arcane art. However, regardless of whether the 8-9 arcane art could kill these people or not, Lin Feng had no other choice. Puff. Just as Lin Feng was thinking about how to deal with this situation, suddenly Gong Nya silently appeared behind the Sky Pride of the Blood Star tribe. He suddenly attacked. His right hand pierced the Sky Pride's chest from behind. The Sky Pride of the Blood Star tribe turned around and looked at Gong Nya, who had appeared behind him. He wanted to say something, but in the end, he died without saying anything. What's going on? Lin Feng couldn't help but be shocked. He didn't understand why Gong Nya would suddenly attack the Sky Pride of the Blood Star tribe. Gong Nya, what are you doing? The others looked at Gong Nya with gloomy expressions. They quickly separated. The little bit of trust they had built up with great difficulty was now gone because of Gong Nya's sneak attack and killing of the Sky Pride of the Blood Star tribe. Everyone was on guard and suspicious of each other. Gong Nya sneered. He didn't care about the others' questions. Gong Nya had sucked the Sky Pride of the Blood Star tribe dry. Then, he quickly flew out of the valley. Gong Nya clearly wanted to break out of the encirclement. You don't know the difference between life and death. A cold voice suddenly sounded. Next, a huge palm suddenly condensed in the rolling demonic fog around the valley. That huge palm directly grabbed at young Master Nya. That palm was really too terrifying. It seemed to be able to grasp the world. No one would be able to successfully dodge that palm. Chapter 3095. Seeing young Master Nya being grabbed by that hand, everyone knew that young Master Nya was dead for sure. Young Master Nya's cultivation was indeed very strong. There weren't many cultivators who could match him. However, the one who attacked was an expert from the primordial era. How strong was this expert's combat strength? It was hard to imagine. No matter how strong young Master Nya was, there was nothing he could do against an expert from the primordial era. The hand that grabbed young Master Nya suddenly tightened its grip. Cracking sounds could be heard. It was the sound of bones breaking. Blood flowed down from the hand. Lin Feng and the others were shocked. Young Master Nya's body was crushed into meat paste. Young Master Nya died. Just like that, Lin Feng took a deep breath. Among the geniuses of the myriad races, young Master Nya was definitely the one he feared the most. Not only was young Master Nya powerful, but he was also very good at disguising himself. Moreover, young Master Nya had never used his full strength in all these years. No one knew just how terrifying his battle prowess was. Young Master Nya was definitely one of the most terrifying existences of the younger generation. But now he had died just like that. Everyone was filled with emotions. So what if he was a peak genius of the younger generation? He couldn't even withstand a single blow from those peak experts. However, just as everyone thought that young Master Nya's soul had returned to the 9 heavens with a flash of light, a figure appeared in the churning black mist. It was young Master Nya. He's not dead. Lin Feng was surprised when he saw Gongzong Nya. That gigantic hand wasn't Gongzong Nya's real body, it was just a clone. Lin Feng didn't know what Gongzong Nya had used, but that existence was also made of flesh and blood. How had young Master Nya done it? Lin Feng suddenly thought of how young Master Nya had devoured the flesh and blood essence of that genius from the Bloodstar race. Could it be that young Master Nya had used the flesh and blood essence of that cultivator to create another version of himself? When the huge devil hand reached out, young Master Nya's original body instantly went into hiding. The fake body instantly appeared and replaced the original body. The speed at which the real and the fake body switched was simply too fast. Thus, he was able to fool everyone. The demonic hand pointed at Gong Zue, who was running away. In an instant, a finger of light condensed from devil qi, instantly shot towards Gongzi Nia. Meanwhile, Lin Feng and the others also fled in all directions. He wanted to escape while this ancient existence was dealing with young Master Nia. With this existence's strength, it shouldn't be so troublesome to kill Gongzong Nia. Lin Feng guessed that there might be some problems with the body of this ancient existence. That was why Gongzong Nia was able to take advantage of it. Sky Devil Body Disintegration Technique. Facing the attack of the finger light, Gongzi Nia did not hesitate to use the ultimate escape technique of the Sky Fiend clan. Perhaps it was because young Master Nia felt the terror of that finger light, so he didn't hold back at all. Young Master Nia's body instantly disintegrated into strands of devilish energy. Dense demonic chi rushed out, and the finger of light shot out to kill. A lot of devil chi was destroyed. However, some of the devil chi still managed to escape. Despicable ants, you all deserve to die. I'm going to eat all of you. Gongzong, Nia's successful escape, also thoroughly angered this ancient existence. One after another, gigantic hands that blotted out the sky condensed and grabbed at the cultivators. Fairy Yaoji was the daughter of the world lord of the heaven and earth great world. She took out a jade talisman. After the jade talisman shattered, the shadow of an ancient existence appeared. That ancient existence wrapped around Fairy Yaoji and then collided with the devil hand in the void. Then he tore open the void and escaped with Fairy Yaoji. Lin Feng guessed that the existence that appeared in the jade talisman should be the heaven and earth great emperor. To be able to become the world lord of a great world, this person was definitely a terrifying figure. Su Qianzong was also extraordinary. He took out an ancient book. It was an ancient bronze book, mysterious and unfathomable. Su Qianzong jumped up and flew towards the bronze book. The bronze book formed a space of its own, and Su Qianzong entered it. When the demonic hand pressed down, ancient figures appeared above the bronze book. These figures had powerful auras and heaven-defying methods. They were all old ancestors of the Earthmaster lineage. After the bronze book clashed with the devil hand, it quickly tore through the devil fog and escaped. Next, it was the beautiful woman in black tights. This woman also seemed to have an extraordinary origin. She took out a scroll painting. The scroll painting was extremely extraordinary. It shook off the devil hand and swept the woman away. However, before the scroll painting left, the devil hand slapped it. Puff! The woman in black tights couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. Then the scroll painting tore through the devil fog and disappeared. Lin Feng was also attacked by the devil hand. When the terrifying devil hand came down from the sky, Lin Feng felt the aura of death enveloping him. This demonic hand was simply too terrifying. Lin Feng didn't resist the devil hand directly. He used the Great Death Substitution technique. He had managed to avoid a certain death. In the next moment, Lin Feng arrived at the outer region of the Devil Valley. Then he rushed out. Lin Feng was overjoyed. He would be able to get out soon. But at this moment, a cold voice came from the depths of the hall. Space-time imprisonment. When the voice came out, in an instant, Lin Feng felt as if heaven and earth had been imprisoned. Space condensed. Time stopped flowing. Lin Feng was shocked to find that he couldn't move his body. His body and the surrounding space-time had stopped moving. The others were the same. They couldn't move their bodies. The situation was extremely bad. It's over. It's really over this time. Lin Feng wanted to cry, but no tears came out. He was definitely dead. Whoosh! At this moment, a powerful suction force surged out from the Devil Palace of Despair. The powerful suction force enveloped the remaining people. The group of people flew uncontrollably towards the Devil Palace of Despair. Song of the Worlds. It started in the desolate era. Myriad Tao, destruction of the era. Suddenly, a deep voice resounded between heaven and earth. A boundless starry sky world appeared. At the end of this starry sky world, there were 5 mysterious and ancient existences sitting cross-legged. The 5 existences seemed to be unmoving since ancient times. They were as powerful as ancient gods. Swish, swish. Chapter 3096. It's the Lord Primogenitor. The Lord Primogenitor has appeared. Shun Daoqiong couldn't help but shout excitedly. The primogenitors of the myriad races were 5 experts that had existed since the primordial era. They were from the same era as the primogenitor in the Devil Palace of Despair. No one knew how strong they were. I didn't expect to meet people from the same era in this era. A chilling voice rang out from the Devil Palace of Despair. That's right. There aren't many people from our era anymore. The primogenitor opened his eyes and said. Then he grabbed at the peerless geniuses of the myriad races, the extraterritorial races, and the other factions. Only Lin Feng was ignored. This primogenitor probably didn't recognize Lin Feng. He probably saw that Lin Feng was a human cultivator and didn't intend to save Lin Feng. You want to save these people from me? You must be dreaming. The primogenitor in the Devil Palace of Despair's voice was cold and filled with killing intent. Then a huge demonic hand condensed in the void. That huge demonic hand slapped at the primogenitor's hand. Ever since I woke up from my slumber, this is the first time I've made a move. After the primordial era, I rarely made a move. It's a good opportunity to test your skills. The primogenitor of the myriad races said indifferently, bang. In the next instant, the 2 huge palms collided with each other, creating an earth-shattering sound of collision. After all, the primogenitor had launched his attack from far away. Hence, he was at a disadvantage. However, before it shattered, the palm grabbed the demonic woman beside the heavenly demon emperor's son. Then it quickly disappeared. The 5 ancient figures in the primordial era disappeared together with the primogenitor. No, why did it turn out like this? We don't want to die. Old ancestor, save us. The remaining people were on the verge of breaking down. They saw hope, but in the blink of an eye, that hope turned into deep despair. Anyone who had experienced such ups and downs, anyone would feel a deep sense of despair. In the end, the remaining 11 people were sucked into the Devil Palace of Despair. Inside the Demon Palace, there was a huge stone bed. A middle-aged cultivator was lying on top of the stone bed, looking at Lin Feng and the others. This person must be the existence from the primordial era. You guys are weaker than the others. They escaped, but you guys were left behind. This terrifying existence walked down from the stone bed. At this moment, everyone saw a terrifying scene. The head of this existence was actually separated from its body, although there was divine light intertwining around his neck. However, it was difficult to conceal the wound on the severed head. Everyone looked at this terrifying expert from the immemorial era in shock. What exactly happened in the past? Who cut off his head? His head had been chopped off for such a long time. It was truly inconceivable that this existence was still alive. How did he do it? He was an expert who had experienced the ancient war. It was indeed extraordinary. His methods were extremely powerful. It was hard to imagine. Are you surprised? The immemorial era expert smiled faintly and asked. Lin Feng and the others did not say anything. They all looked at the immemorial era expert cautiously. The immemorial era expert came in front of a myriad race cultivator. Spare me, senior, please spare me. This junior is willing to do anything for senior. The myriad race cultivator quickly knelt on the ground and kowtowed to the immemorial era expert. In the past, the myriad race did produce many powerful people. However, in your era, have you lost your courage? What a disgrace! The immemorial era expert reached out his right hand and grabbed the head of the myriad race cultivator, who was kneeling on the ground and begging for mercy. The myriad race cultivator let out a shrill cry. Everyone saw that the myriad race cultivator's body was rapidly shrinking. Bang! Along with the sound of a violent explosion, there was a loud sound. The myriad race cultivator's body directly exploded. His flesh and soul essence turned into a blood-red ball of light and was swallowed by the immemorial era expert. Not bad, not bad. The power of your bloodline is not bad. The immemorial era expert laughed sinisterly. After seeing this scene, everyone felt a chill run down their spines. Could it be that this ancient expert wanted to devour all of them? If that was the case, then it would be a disaster. As long as Senior is willing to spare us, we are willing to do anything for Senior. One by one, the myriad race cultivators knelt on the ground and begged for mercy. However, there were also a few who did not choose to kneel and beg for mercy even though their faces were extremely dark. This was because the immemorial era expert had already activated his killing intent. He did not care about anyone's pleas. It was useless even if they begged for mercy. In the end, they would still die. Since that was the case, there was no need to beg for mercy. Spineless thing, Yi Futian sneered. The immemorial era expert's expression was cold as he grabbed the head of the second myriad race cultivator. Soon, the second myriad race cultivator's body also exploded. Then, the immemorial era expert devoured the second myriad race cultivator's flesh and soul essence. Run! Seeing that begging was useless, the rest of the myriad race cultivators got up and ran outside. A bunch of ants trying to escape? How laughable! The immemorial era expert waved his sleeve. Bang, bang, bang. Following that, the cultivators' bodies exploded one after another, dying on the spot. Then, the immemorial era expert suddenly inhaled. In an instant, everyone's flesh and soul essence was completely devoured by the immemorial era expert. This immemorial era expert was truly a peerlessly terrifying existence, causing everyone to feel a deep sense of despair. In the end, apart from Lin Feng, there were also Xing Yuchen, Yu Lingxin, and Shen Daoqiong. At least the four of you have some backbone. Moreover, your bloodlines seem to be much more powerful than the bloodlines of the previous people. The immemorial era expert's sinister eyes looked at the four of them. Finally, his gaze fixed on Lin Feng. Especially your bloodline. It's different from the rest. He reached out to grab Lin Feng. Lin Feng was shocked. He wanted to struggle, but he couldn't. He couldn't imagine what cultivation level this immemorial era expert had. He was so terrifying that he couldn't resist. The immemorial era expert was about to grab Lin Feng. But at that moment, the immemorial era expert stopped. His sinister eyes looked in the direction of the Devil Palace of Despair's entrance. "Who are you?" The immemorial era expert asked with a cold expression. Seeing that the immemorial era expert had stopped, he didn't continue to attack him. Lin Feng couldn't help but let out a long sigh. Then, he looked at the entrance of the palace. His eyes suddenly narrowed. Devil fog was rolling at the entrance of the palace. A mummified figure stood there with his hands behind his back. It was unknown when he had appeared here. He stood at the entrance of the palace, watching everything that was happening inside with calm eyes. Chapter 3097. The mummified old man had come here. When did he appear? No one even knew. Even this expert from the archaic era didn't sense his presence. It was truly a terrifying existence. The mummified old man didn't answer the primordial era expert's question. Instead, he asked, "I'm here for the immortal Book of Saints. You should know some of the things that happened back then." "Who are you? You know about this thing?" The ancient expert's expression changed greatly. That ancient book was a taboo that could not be mentioned. Very few people knew about it, especially after the ancient war. He even thought that he was the only one who knew of this name in all the worlds. But now he knew that there was someone else who knew of the existence of this item, and this person was also living in the world. It was this mysterious old man before him. Immortal Book of Saints? What's that? Lin Feng could not help but be puzzled. From the name, it seemed to be a book, but it was definitely not that simple. He just did not know what this Immortal Book of Saints was. But no matter what it was, Lin Feng felt that this Immortal Book of Saints was definitely extremely shocking. It must have a shocking origin. Otherwise, the mummified old man would not be so interested in it. One had to know that the mummified old man had a great origin, although Lin Feng did not know who he was. But after he had appeared in the past, the underworld had been deserted. From this, one could see how terrifying this mummified old man was. No matter what, the underworld was the largest power in the underworld, and the underworld was one of the 3 supreme realms, where experts were as common as clouds. Who knew how many powerful existences there were in the underworld? But even such a powerful underworld had been scared out of its wits when it heard the mummified old man appear. The mummified old man's strength was unfathomable. Who I am is not important. What's important is the information about the Immortal Book of Saints. Heaven and earth are heartless, treating all things like straw dogs. The Immortal Book of Saints is very useful to me. Tell me everything you know. The mummified old man continued. You dare to covet that thing? I advise you not to have any ideas about the Immortal Book of Saints, lest you draw fire to yourself. The supreme ancient expert said. You don't have to worry about that. The mummified old man said indifferently. I can't tell you about the Immortal Book of Saints, because the things I know are useless to you. The ancient expert couldn't help but ask. I wanted to spare your life, but you don't cherish it? The mummified old man's eyes suddenly turned cold, and his body disappeared. No one knew how he disappeared. No one knew how powerful this existence was. The next moment, the mummified old man appeared in front of the immemorial expert. Then he reached out with his withered right hand and grabbed at the primordial expert. Lin Feng already had some understanding of the strength of an ancient powerhouse. He knew just how terrifying this existence was. But in the face of the mummified old man's grasp, the ancient experts were unable to resist at all. Crack! The mummified old man's hand grabbed the primordial expert's head and twisted it. The primordial expert's head was removed. It's not easy for you to be able to live until now after being beheaded in the past. Since you're unwilling to speak, I'll search your soul by force. Then I'll learn many secrets. The mummified old man said indifferently. He was too powerful. Everything he did was done in a carefree manner. This wasn't the first time Lin Feng saw the mummified old man in action, but every time he saw him in action, his heart would be filled with shock. This was definitely a peerless expert from ancient times to modern times. Even if someone said that he was an expert on the same level as Pangu, Niuhua, Taishang, Guangyuan, and the others, Lin Feng wouldn't doubt it at all. Spare me! Spare me! Lord, since our fates are not up to us to decide, please give me a chance. Your Excellency! The primordial expert immediately begged for mercy. Previously, he had sensed an extremely terrifying aura from the mummified old man's body. However, the primordial expert was also extremely confident in his own strength. That was why he had rejected the mummified old man's request. But now, the situation was completely different. He hadn't expected the mummified old man to be so powerful. This was a terrifying existence that surpassed him by more than a single level. The primordial expert found this hard to believe. Hadn't an existence on this level died long ago during the Great War between sentient life forms? The few who had luckily survived had all died in the calamity of the primordial era. To think that an existence on this level still existed in this era, it was truly shocking. The mummified old man's expression was still cold. In the end, he tossed the primordial expert's head away. The mummified old man had said, "Heaven and earth are heartless, treating all living things like straw dogs." From this, one could see that the mummified old man had his own understanding of the heavenly Tao's indifference. He wasn't a bloodthirsty person, and from a certain point of view, this primordial expert might indeed be somewhat similar to him. "Thank you for sparing my life, Lord." The primordial expert hurriedly knelt on the ground and kowtowed to the mummified old man in thanks. "Who is this person?" Shun Daoqiong, Xin Yuchen, and Yu Lingxin were already dumbfounded. After all, even though this primordial expert had been decapitated and his battle prowess had greatly decreased, he still hadn't feared the primogenitors. But in front of this mummified old man, he was nothing more than an ant. It was truly shocking. They couldn't even believe what they were seeing with their own eyes. But this was all real. This existence was truly far too powerful, to the point where it was simply shocking. Only Lin Feng remained relatively calm. He'd long since known just how powerful this mummified old man was. Thus, Lin Feng didn't find it strange at all that he'd been able to suppress this primordial expert. "Speak," the mummified old man said. His words were concise and to the point. He wasn't a particularly talkative person, especially after countless years had passed. He was still as taciturn as he'd been in the past. "Everything this junior knows is recorded in this jade tube." The primordial expert handed over a jade tube to the mummified old man. The mummified old man took the tube and sensed its contents. Then, a cold light flashed in his eyes. In that instant, the world seemed to be frozen. It was impossible to tell what was recorded in the tube. The mummified old man then began to walk outside. "Senior, wait for this junior," Lin Feng said, hurrying to follow. The mummified old man turned to look at Lin Feng. In that instant, Lin Feng felt like he'd fallen into hell. The mummified old man finally turned back, no longer paying any attention to him. It was as if he'd tacitly agreed to let Lin Feng leave with him. The other three wanted to leave as well, but an invisible force pushed them back into the hall. The mummified old man wasn't the savior of the world. He didn't pay any attention to people who had no relationship with him. Chapter 3098. The mummified old man didn't walk very quickly. He walked through the forest. Between heaven and earth, not a sound could be heard. Even the chirping of insects and birds had completely disappeared at this moment. The mummified old man was too powerful. His cultivation was heaven-defying, and his battle prowess had reached an unimaginable level. Wherever he passed, there would be a natural pressure. It was as if some people were born with a domineering aura. He suppressed the world. Lin Feng followed behind the mummified old man. Ever since the mummified old man was released from the wooden coffin, Lin Feng and the immeasurable Taoist had formed a mysterious connection with the old man. Perhaps this was a trace of fate in the unseen world. It was the fate of fate within fate. The mummified old man had come for the mysterious immortal Book of Saints, so when he heard the news of the book, he immediately changed his mind. He walked outside. It seemed as if he wanted to leave Lulan Island. It was as if nothing on Lulan Island could attract the mummified old man's attention. This path is full of danger. In the end, this path requires great courage and faith in order to walk down it. The mummified old man said. He seemed to be talking to himself. However, it also seemed as if he was talking to Lin Feng. Whoosh! There was a flash of light. The mummified old man disappeared without a trace. Thank you, Senior. Lin Feng bowed at the place where the mummified old man had been standing. He was grateful for the senior's help. At the same time, he was also grateful for the senior's guidance. Lin Feng didn't stay for long and quickly left. On the way, Lin Feng transmitted his voice to the Demon Lord. Demon Lord, have you heard of the Immortal Book of Saints? What is it? The Demon Lord shook his head and said, I've never heard of it. I don't know which era this treasure is from. I don't even know if it's from this era. Lin Feng said, this senior's identity is too mysterious. I don't even know where he came from. I'm not sure. Even at my peak, I couldn't compare to this person. The Demon Lord could not help but sigh. An epoch had 3,000 eras. Each era could last for tens of thousands of years, or even hundreds of millions of years. Therefore, after such a long period of time, no one knew exactly how many experts had appeared in the myriad worlds. The night was bright and clear, and from time to time, the roars of beasts could be heard from the forest. The area of the Swamp of Despair was extremely large, and the Swamp of Despair at night was extremely dangerous. Boom! Violent vibrations could be heard from afar. A great battle broke out. Lin Feng, who was resting in the forest, was alarmed. He quickly flew in the direction of the battle. Not long after, Lin Feng flew to the mountain forest where the battle was taking place. Immediately, he saw a dozen or so cultivators besieging an injured female cultivator. The injured female cultivator was actually the female cultivator from the myriad races who was wearing a tight black suit. This female cultivator had used a scroll to escape from the Devil Valley of Despair. However, she was injured when she left. Now, her face looked rather pale, and her magic power was in disorder. Her injuries should not be light. Wang Hongzhong, we have no grievances in the past. You brought these people to besiege me. Do you want to become enemies with my phantom race? The female cultivator said coldly. Phantom race? Lin Feng could not help but frown slightly. This was the first time he heard of this race. However, this race should be very powerful. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to cultivate such a powerful female cultivator. Mei Shirua, I heard that you have the legendary 1,000 charm body. This is an extremely rare dual cultivation physique. It is said that many people want to become dual cultivation partners with you, but they were all rejected by you. You are such a top quality beauty, and you also have the 1,000 charm body. Originally, this young master didn't have any share, but now that you are injured, this young master also wants to have a taste of your 1,000 charm body. A horse-faced cultivator said. This horse-faced cultivator should be the Wang Hongzhong that Mei Shirua mentioned. This Wang Hongzhong should also be a cultivator from the myriad races. Lin Feng did not know which race he was from. He had many experts around him, which was why he dared to attack the injured Mei Shirua. These myriad races cultivators had many tricks up their sleeves. Therefore, Lin Feng was not surprised to see the battle between the two sides. Now, Lin Feng looked at the two sides of the battle as if he was watching a show. Boom, boom, boom. Under Wang Hongzhong's leadership, their group's attack was very powerful. Although Mei Shirua was very powerful, she was still injured. She could not display her full strength. Therefore, she was suppressed by Wang Hongzhong's group. Moreover, she was surrounded by danger. Bang! Suddenly, Wang Hongzhong seized an opportunity and swept his palm on Mei Shirua's body, sending her flying. After receiving this blow, Mei Shirua's face turned even paler. Ha 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 ha, Mei Shirua, it seems like you will be my woman today. Wang Hongzhong could not help but laugh. The following attacks from this group of people were even more powerful. Boom, boom, boom. All kinds of terrifying attacks were displayed. It was as if they could destroy the heaven and earth. Mei Shirua was about to be drowned. At this moment, a mysterious rune appeared between Mei Shirua's eyebrows. It was a rune that looked somewhat illusory. That rune emitted a powerful energy, and that energy poured into Mei Shirua's body. God of phantoms, shuttling through the void, thousands of changes, slaying gods, and exterminating immortals. Suddenly, Mei Shirua chanted a mysterious incantation. It was an extremely ancient language. No one knew what Mei Shirua's words meant. Mei Shirua's body suddenly became illusory. When all the attacks came, Mei Shirua disappeared without a trace. Then, all the attacks hit empty space. 1,000 hands of phantoms. Mei Shirua appeared 100 meters away. Then, her hands continuously changed seals. Along with her soft shout, the voice rang out. A terrifying scene unfolded before their eyes. A pair of arms grew out from the back of the myriad races, cultivators. Those arms were condensed from energy and appeared very abruptly. Then, the pairs of arms grabbed the heads of the cultivators. Crack, crack. Following that, those pairs of arms directly twisted and broke the necks of more than 10 cultivators, including the cultivator called Wang Hongzhong. They did not even know what had happened before their necks were twisted and broken. One by one, they died with their eyes open. Mei Shirua's face became even paler after using this sacred art. Obviously, this sacred art consumed a lot of her energy. Mei Shirua leaned against a tree to rest. At this moment, the sound of rustling footsteps could be heard. It's you. Mei Shirua looked towards the direction of the sound. Chapter 3099. The cultivator who came out of the forest was none other than Lin Feng. TSK, you're really powerful. Even after suffering such serious injuries in the Devil Valley of Despair, you were still able to kill more than a dozen experts in an instant. Fairy's strength really makes me prostrate myself in admiration. It seems like you were hiding your true strength. When you were besieging me, you didn't use your full strength. Lin Feng looked at Mei Shirua with a smile that didn't look like a smile. Lin Feng had already noticed this woman before. He didn't notice her because of how powerful she was, but because this woman was filled with an indescribable charm. Peerless beauties were rare, but this woman wasn't just a peerless beauty. Moreover, she was a delicate, peerless beauty. She was even more charming. Any man who saw this woman would not be able to ignore her and would pay attention to her. Lin Feng was naturally no exception. You actually escaped. Mei Shirua calmed herself down. She was also a person who had seen the world. Although she was injured and was facing Lin Feng alone, she was still able to maintain her composure. Even so, she was still able to adjust her emotions to the best state. This woman was really extraordinary. Perhaps she knew that only by adjusting her emotions to the best state, she would be able to deal with Lin Feng better. Lin Feng gave her too much pressure, but Mei Shirua didn't show it on her face. She still had a calm look on her face, trying to confuse Lin Feng. I didn't escape. I walked out openly. That immemorial expert didn't even dare to fart when he saw me walk out. Lin Feng said indifferently, Brag with all your might. Mei Shirua couldn't help but curl her lips. She was very clear about how powerful that immemorial expert was. That existence was not an existence that they could contend against, not to mention them. Even some extremely powerful Emperor realm experts wouldn't be able to withstand a single blow from that immemorial expert. Therefore, Mei Shirua naturally didn't believe Lin Feng's words. Of course, Mei Shirua did not express her disdain for Lin Feng. She asked, "Other than you, where are the others?" "Dead." Lin Feng said faintly. He walked towards Mei Shirua step by step and started to circulate the magic power in his body. Lin Feng wanted to make a move on Mei Shirua. Mei Shirua was simply too mesmerizing. Furthermore, she had the 1,000-charm body. And now he was injured. Moreover, they were cultivators of the myriad races. He and Lin Feng were enemies. Lin Feng naturally wouldn't let go of the opportunity to suppress her. Mei Shirua quickly retreated and said, "Lin Feng, are you trying to take advantage of me? You're a top genius of the human race. You wouldn't do something that would lower your status, right?" Lin Feng couldn't help but roll his eyes and said, "If you're talking about lowering your status, aren't you all from the so-called myriad races, extraterritorial races, and other top geniuses from the outside world, even more so? A total of 17 experts ganged up on me. Do you have any shame?" After hearing Lin Feng's words, Mei Shirua didn't know how to refute Lin Feng. The truth was right in front of her. Indeed, she couldn't refute it. Lin Feng continued, "I heard that you have the 1,000-charm body. This physique is a peak-grade dual cultivation physique. If I can capture you, it will be greatly beneficial to my cultivation." Asterisk boom. Asterisk as soon as he finished speaking, Lin Feng attacked Mei Shirua. He quickly flew towards Mei Shirua and sent a palm strike towards her. Previously, Mei Shirua had wanted to kill him. Lin Feng naturally wouldn't go easy on her. Moreover, the world of cultivators was an incomparably cruel world. There was no room for compassion towards one's enemies. If one had compassion for one's enemies, they might be the ones to die in the future. Or one's friends and family would be the ones to die. Mei Shirua knew how powerful Lin Feng was. Seeing Lin Feng attacking her, she had no intention of fighting Lin Feng. Mei Shirua's hand flashed. A jade talisman flew out. The talisman was covered in dense, mysterious runes. Each rune contained a terrifying power. Boom! Following the violent explosion, the jade talisman was blasted apart. Following that, waves of destructive energy surged out. The energy from the jade talisman's explosion was so terrifying that it made one's face pale with fright. No one knew who had forged such a powerful jade talisman. Swoosh! Lin Feng quickly retreated. He cast the great defensive art and condensed a defensive crystal wall. At the same time, he cast the magic immunity ability. Then, he quickly pierced through the void. This neutralized the terrifying energy from the jade talisman's explosion. By the time the energy dissipated, Mei Shirua had disappeared without a trace. "She can't escape." Lin Feng's face turned gloomy. He quickly chased after her. Lin Feng had expected that it wouldn't be easy to catch Mei Shirua. Therefore, Lin Feng had already locked onto Mei Shirua's aura. Once she escaped, Lin Feng could still catch up to her by tracking her aura. Lin Feng increased his speed and chased after Mei Shirua. Half an hour later, Lin Feng saw Mei Shirua's figure. Mei Shirua was injured. Moreover, her injuries weren't light. Naturally, her speed would be greatly reduced. Escaping from Lin Feng's hands would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens. "You can't escape. Just give up." Lin Feng said indifferently. "Lin Feng, you, a big man, bullied a little woman like me. What kind of man are you?" Mei Shirua looked at Lin Feng hatefully. Lin Feng sneered and said, "Little woman? What a joke. Between enemies, there is only life and death. Who cares if you are a man or a woman?" When the cultivators of the myriad races, extraterrestrial races, and other foreign forces cruelly killed countless cultivators of 9 provinces and countless innocent people Have you ever thought that you, the high and mighty cultivators, should spare those women, the elderly, the women, and the children? Have you ever thought about this? Did you ever let them go? You didn't. Since you didn't, don't act pitiful in front of me. I didn't kill those people you mentioned. Meishirua said, I don't care if you killed them or not. You teamed up with others to kill me. Today, I won't let you go. Lin Feng said indifferently. Swoosh, he stepped on the world. His speed was as fast as lightning. Chapter 3100. Lin Feng's palm strike was extremely terrifying. Facing Lin Feng's attack, Mei Shirua's hands kept changing seals. Seeing Mei Shirua's ever-changing mysterious seals, Lin Feng felt a sense of familiarity. His heart trembled slightly. Wasn't this the same technique Mei Shirua used to deal with Wang Hongzhong and the others? These incantations were very powerful and very strange. Previously, Lin Feng saw Wang Hongzhong and the others having their heads grabbed by the hands. Then more than a dozen of their heads were twisted by those arms. In the end, they died miserably. Therefore, after seeing Mei Shirua's technique, Lin Feng guessed that Mei Shirua was going to use that strange sacred art again. Roar. At this moment, Lin Feng couldn't help but roar. His roar seemed to shake the earth and the mountains. It contained a powerful soul attack. Mei Shirua, who was condensing her sacred art, heard Lin Feng's roar and felt as if she was struck by lightning. Her state was forcefully interrupted. As a result, she suffered a backlash. If Mei Shirua was still in her peak state, or if she wasn't injured, she might be able to block Lin Feng's soul attack. But now, her state was extremely bad. Her combat strength had fallen greatly. She couldn't block Lin Feng's soul attack. Therefore, that's why Lin Feng had interrupted him. Mei Shirua's magic power became even more chaotic. Lin Feng stepped forward and said indifferently, Mei Shirua, you can't fight me in your current state. Why are you still doing this pointless struggle? Black tortoise hunchback steel diagram. As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Feng used the black tortoise steel diagram to suppress Mei Shirua. Swish! Mei Shirua's pretty face turned ugly. She waved her hand. A scroll flew out from the scroll. It was the mysterious scroll that helped Mei Shirua escape from the Devil Valley of Despair. The scroll slowly unfolded. On the surface of the scroll, there were many drawings. There were thousands of miles of mountains and rivers in the drawings. There were towering mountains and steep ridges. There were many cultivation countries. There were also many immortal sections. Of course, there were also ordinary secular countries. No matter what kind of country it was a scene of prosperity. This picture, it was called the Flourishing Mountains and Rivers painting. This painting was full of mystery. It was filled with great power. It was also full of endless unknowns. When the picture was taken out, the black tortoise hunchback tablet was instantly swallowed up by the Flourishing Mountain and River painting. Next, the Flourishing Mountain and River painting quickly flew towards Lin Feng. Then, the Flourishing Mountain and River painting kept expanding. A terrifying, devouring power surged out from the Flourishing Mountain and River painting. That terrifying, devouring power actually wanted to devour Lin Feng's body. Lin Feng was shocked. This scroll was really powerful. He felt as if his body was flying towards the Flourishing Mountain and River painting uncontrollably. This was definitely a supreme treasure. No one knew where it came from. Slash! Lin Feng took out the stone sword. He held the stone sword in his hand and slashed towards the Flourishing Mountain and River painting. The stone sword directly swept towards the Flourishing Mountain and River painting. Although it did not tear the painting apart, the Flourishing Mountain and River painting was directly swept away by the stone sword. Moreover, the luster of the painting became much dimmer. The devouring power condensed by the flourishing mountain and river painting was also shattered by Lin Feng's stone sword. The stone sword's power was indeed unparalleled. It was really too powerful. Everyone could not help but be shocked, seeing the flourishing mountain and river paintings attack being broken. Mei Shirua quickly kept the flourishing mountain and river painting. Then, she quickly flew towards the distance, wanting to escape again. However, how could Lin Feng let Mei Shirua escape? He quickly chased after her. Then, he once again swept a fist towards Mei Shirua. This time, Lin Feng used the demon ancestor's holy punch, a powerful skill. Mei Shirua could not avoid it. She was directly swept away by the devil ancestor's sacred fist. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. At this time, a figure quickly flew over from the distance. Such a huge commotion had attracted many cultivators over. These cultivators, most of them were cultivators from the myriad races, extraterrestrial races, or other foreign forces. A small number of them were cultivators from the 9 continents. Look, it's Mei Shirua. Who is that male cultivator? Even Mei Shirua is not his opponent. It's Lin Feng, the human race's Lin Feng. What? He is Lin Feng? Many people exclaimed. After that, the cultivators of the 10,000 clans, foreign races, and other influential groups all looked at Lin Feng with murder in their eyes. These cultivators hated Lin Feng to the bone. Even in their dreams, they wanted to kill Lin Feng. Now, they finally saw Lin Feng. Everyone, quickly come and help Shirua. Shirua will definitely remember everyone's kindness. Mei Shirua looked at the surrounding cultivators with a pitiful expression. This woman's charm was too great, especially when coupled with that pitiful look. Many people couldn't help but feel tempted and wanted to deal with Lin Feng. However, when they thought of how terrifying Lin Feng was, these cultivators dispelled this thought. Even though the cultivators of the 10,000 clans, foreign races, and other influential groups all wanted to kill Lin Feng, they couldn't. However, they were all aware of their own limitations. They knew how terrifying Lin Feng was. Such an existence. It was not something they could deal with. If they attacked Lin Feng, only death would await them. Therefore, although there were many people watching the show, however, no one attacked Lin Feng. It seems like no one is helping you, Lin Feng said indifferently. He quickly rushed forward. This time, Lin Feng used a thought-blooming flower, Sovereign's Descent. Mei Shirua used all her strength to resist Lin Feng's sacred art. However, she was still defeated by Lin Feng. Her entire body's magic power was directly scattered. Then, Lin Feng directly carried Mei Shirua on his shoulder. "Put me down! Quickly put me down!" Mei Shirua struggled. "Lin Feng, what is the meaning of this? You are a top prodigy of the human race. Don't do something that will tarnish your reputation." A myriad race cultivator said coldly. Swish! Lin Feng disappeared and reappeared in front of the cultivator of the 10,000 clans. He threw a punch at the cultivator of the 10,000 clans. That myriad race cultivator looked at Lin Feng in horror. He didn't expect Lin Feng to attack him. He wanted to dodge Lin Feng's attack, but it was too late. A loud bang was heard. This myriad race cultivator was directly killed by Lin Feng. The myriad race invaded the 9 continents and killed many innocent people. Even if your myriad race cultivators died 1,000 times, it wouldn't be enough to comfort the souls of the countless innocent people in the 9 continents. Any means to deal with your myriad race cultivators is not excessive, Lin Feng said indifferently. Seeing Lin Feng kill so decisively the myriad race, extraterrestrial race, and other cultivators couldn't help but turn pale with fear. Facing Lin Feng's words, they didn't even have the courage to refute. Chapter 30 101. Beasts roared in the forest. Powerful, ferocious beasts roamed everywhere. The swamp of despair was as dangerous as ever. Inside a cave, Lin Feng looked at Mei Shiruo with an indifferent expression. Lin Feng, what will it take for you to let me go? Mei Shiruo forced herself to calm down and asked. However, no matter how calm she appeared on the surface, her heart was filled with deep fear. If they ended up in Lin Feng's hands, it would be a disaster for them. The only thing Mei Shiruo could do now was to persuade Lin Feng to dispel the bad thoughts in his heart. She had no other choice. Lin Feng said indifferently, "It wasn't easy to capture you, so how could I let you go so easily? In fact, you should be glad that you have such a peerless beauty, because I am someone who knows how to take care of the fairer sex. If it was someone else, they would have been a corpse by now. But when facing you, I can't bear to kill you. Isn't it too much of a pity to kill a peerless beauty like you?" Mei Shiruo said, "There are no eternal enemies in this world, only eternal benefits. There is nothing that can't be negotiated. What do you want? Magic treasure? Cultivation resources? Heavenly treasure? Divine ability? Inheritance? Wait, whatever you want, I can satisfy you." TSK, your tone is quite big. Lin Feng curled his lips and said. Mei Shiruo said, "This is because I have enough confidence to say these words. That's why I said that there is nothing that can't be negotiated. I can give you anything you want, even the location of an ancient cultivator's cave, the inheritance of an immortal, etc. I only ask that you let me go. Looks like you are also someone with great luck. However, I don't like to take things from women. Magic treasures, cultivation resources, and even legacies, I will look for them myself. Compared to those things, I am more interested in you as a person. The 1,000 Charms body must be filled with miraculous aspects, right?" Lin Feng looked at Mei Shiruo and said, "Lin Feng, don't make a mistake. Our Phantom Clan is powerful and has many experts. You should consider the consequences." Mei Shiruo bit her red lips and said. Her words were threatening. Lin Feng didn't know much about the Phantom Clan, but he could tell from Mei Shiruo's words that this clan was definitely a powerful force. But so what? Lin Feng even dared to kill someone from the Sacred God clan. Let alone the Phantom Clan. Maybe you'll fall in love with me and stick to me wholeheartedly, said Lin Feng with a smile, yet not a smile. In your dreams. Mei Shiruo said, "Who can say what will happen in the future?" said Lin Feng, smiling, and walking towards Mei Shiruo. Under the bright moonlight, he played the flute. Wind, flower, snow, moon, spring night warm. Yin-yang. 8. Meridians 8. Billions of divine powers, world domination, the pillar of the spirit, spring, 100 meetings. 10. The immortal ascension platform let out a soft cry. The night was filled with endless gentleness and beauty. Lin Feng's cultivation increased again. This time, his cultivation climbed 2 stone steps and stopped at the 55th stone step. The 1,000 Charm body is indeed extraordinary. Lin Feng couldn't help but sigh. Dual cultivation was the fastest way to increase one's cultivation. However, dual cultivation had extremely high requirements for the Tao Companion. Generally, the Tao Companion had to have a supreme grade physique. Only when the primordial yin was still present could the results be doubled with half the effort. If the primordial yin was lost, the effects would be greatly reduced even if the Tao Companion had a supreme grade physique. Lin Feng planned to continue walking deeper. Naturally, he wouldn't kill Mei Shiruo. Just as Lin Feng said, he had always been protective of women and rarely killed female cultivators, especially beautiful female cultivators. Lin Feng was even more reluctant to kill them unless they provoked Lin Feng. Only then would he kill a female cultivator or a beautiful female cultivator. Don't forget this young master's words. If you want to be my concubine in the future, you can come and find me. This young master will have a place for you in his harem. Lin Feng couldn't help but laugh and quickly left. Lin Feng, I will definitely kill you. Mei Shirua gritted her teeth and screamed. I wonder where Du Zhu and the evil sovereign sage are now. Lin Feng couldn't help but ponder. Lulon Island had special laws of order. Therefore, many communication methods, such as some communication jade talismans, would lose their effects here. Spiritual senses would also be greatly suppressed. Lin Feng, Du Zhu, and the evil sovereign sage had a spiritual master-servant connection. However, he couldn't use spiritual senses to contact them now. Of course, Lin Feng wasn't worried about Du Zhu and the evil sovereign sage's safety. This was because the two of them had broken through to the Great Emperor realm. Moreover, the two of them had accumulated a lot of power. Before they broke through to the Great Emperor realm, they could rely on various powerful techniques to contend with great emperors. After breaking through, their life force had undergone a transformation. Their battle strength had increased by many folds. Therefore, Lin Feng wasn't worried about their safety at all. Lin Feng continued to traverse through the forest. Suddenly, a tiger's roar resounded, following which a demonic wind swept over. A demonic tiger rode the demonic wind and attacked. It was extremely terrifying. Lin Feng and the demonic tiger fought over 100 rounds before finally killing it, following which Lin Feng dragged the demonic tiger away and cut open its stomach. A bonfire burned fiercely. An alluring aroma filled the air. Oil dripped from the golden barbecued meat. It was extremely delicious. In the distance, more than 10 streams of light flew over. A group of people descended from the sky. This was a group of extremely young cultivators. Each of them was powerful and unfathomable. Humans. What surprised Lin Feng was that these cultivators were all humans. Lin Feng knew most of the top human experts in the 9 states. Even if he didn't know them, he had heard of them. However, he didn't know any of the people in front of him. Human experts outside the 9 states? Lin Feng couldn't help but ponder. The outer realm was vast and boundless. There were many great worlds with human cultivators. There were even some human cultivators who ruled over some outer realm planets or great worlds. During this period of time, there were also some outer realm humans who had descended on the 9 states. However, their numbers were extremely small. Lin Feng didn't know much about the outer realm humans. Moreover, he didn't know much about the outer realm human experts. These people were probably the outer realm human experts who had descended on the 9 states recently. Chapter 3102. The young master who spoke was very handsome. He had sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes, and he was confident and elegant. He looked like a fine young master in a chaotic world. However, that pair of slightly long and narrow eyes affected his entire person, making people feel that this person had an indescribable feminine temperament. Lin Feng did not have much contact with the extraterrestrial humans. There were very few extraterrestrial humans in 9 prefectures, and they were extremely low-key. These xenorace humans didn't participate in the battle between the cultivators of the 9 provinces, the myriad of races, the xenorace, and the other forces of the outside world. Perhaps it was because they didn't want to get into trouble, so they didn't participate in this battle. Of course, not all extraterrestrial humans were extremely low-key. In fact, the extraterrestrial humans were very powerful. Even the myriad races, extraterrestrial races, and other external forces were wary of the extraterrestrial humans. From this, one could see how powerful the extraterrestrial humans were. such a force. Naturally, not many people dared to provoke them. Now, the young master's identity was obviously not simple. His aura was very powerful, and he was definitely an expert of the younger generation of the extraterrestrial humans. However, Lin Feng did not pay attention to this person. So what if he was an extraterrestrial human cultivator? It had nothing to do with him. Although the extraterrestrial humans and the humans of 9 prefectures were both human cultivators, they did not choose to help the humans of 9 prefectures fight against the myriad races, extraterrestrial races, and other external forces. Of course, Lin Feng would not blame these people because the extraterrestrial humans were not cultivators of 9 prefectures. They had enough reasons not to participate in this battle. Outsiders could not make any decisions about this kind of thing. Seeing that Lin Feng directly ignored him, the young master's face suddenly sank. He said coldly, "Kid, I'm talking to you. Didn't you hear me?" "Get lost." Lin Feng looked coldly at the young master. He had always had a strong personality. Naturally, he would not let others ride on his head. Lin Feng had been extremely unhappy with the young master's high and mighty attitude. There was no need to show any mercy to such a person. "Kid, you dare to ask me to get lost? Are you courting death?" A dense killing intent appeared in the eyes of the brocade-robed young man. "Brother Sun, please calm down. There is no need to get angry over such a trivial matter, right?" A blue-clothed cultivator in the group hurriedly said, "This kid actually dares to humiliate me. How could I tolerate this? If I don't teach him a lesson, he won't know that there's always someone better out there." The young master in embroidered clothes said with an indifferent expression. Although he could not sense Lin Feng's specific cultivation, he could sense Lin Feng's life aura. Lin Feng was really too young. His lifespan was not even 60 years. In the world of cultivators, a casual closed-door meditation could take hundreds of years. A human cultivator with less than 60 years of lifespan was naturally looked down upon. Therefore, in the prince's opinion, Lin Feng, a cultivator who didn't have a high cultivation level, dared talk to him like that. Lin Feng was simply courting death. "Brother Sun, you're a high and mighty human prodigy. There's no need to be so angry over such a small matter. It's ungentlemanly." A female cultivator said aloud. This female cultivator's voice was delicate and very gentle. Lin Feng could not help but look at the woman who spoke. This woman was dressed in white and was as otherworldly as a fairy. After seeing this woman, a name instantly flashed through Lin Feng's mind. Lu Huaxian. This woman's temperament was very similar to Lu Huaxian's. They were both like peerless fairies who had walked out of a painting. She was so beautiful that it was suffocating, even though Lin Feng was used to seeing all kinds of beauties. Now that he saw this woman in front of him, he could not help but feel his eyes light up. "Since Fairy Qing-Wan has pleaded for this kid, I won't argue with him today." The young master in embroidered clothes said. There were 7 people in this group, 1 male and 1 female. In addition to this female cultivator called Fairy Qing-Wan, there was another female cultivator who attracted Lin Feng's attention. This female cultivator's temperament was also excellent. She wore a light purple dress that completely set off her perfect figure. This woman looked elegant and noble, as if she was otherworldly. Of course, the other women were also extremely beautiful. They were all first-class beauties. However, compared to these 2 women, they were slightly inferior. Hee, Brother's barbecue is really fragrant and tempting. I wonder if we have the fortune to try it. A burly cultivator with a full beard said. He was also very young, but his appearance gave people an incomparably rough feeling. "Of course." Lin Feng nodded and said. That rough cultivator hurried to the bonfire, then took out a dagger and cut off a piece of barbecue to taste. One after another, people came forward to try Lin Feng's barbecue. The wine and barbecue were a perfect match. It was simply a delicacy, mortal enjoyment. However, there were also some people who didn't try Lin Feng's barbecue. Instead, they took out spirit fruits and ate them. Many cultivators had harsh requirements for themselves. They absolutely didn't eat grains, let alone meat. This was because, in their opinion, these things had a lot of impurities. If they ate too much of these things, it would affect their cultivation. Of course, everyone had a different attitude towards cultivation and life. Lin Feng was an optimist and liked to enjoy good food. If there were impurities in his body, he could just spend some time refining them. Lin Feng and this rough-looking cultivator got along quite well. This cultivator was called Zhang Senator. From this person, Lin Feng understood the origins of this group of people. This group of cultivators came from the Devil Dragon star field in the outer realm. This Devil Dragon star field was quite a famous star field in the outer realm. There were many experts there. Many of them came from different life planets in the Devil Dragon star field, and then came to the 9 prefectures together. As soon as they came to the 9 prefectures, they heard about Lulan Island and immediately rushed to Lulan Island. One had to admit that these people were very lucky to encounter the appearance of Lulan Island. The young man in embroidered clothes was called Sun Tianwei. He was a direct descendant of the Sun family, a famous ancient family in the Devil Dragon star field. He was very talented and arrogant. The young man in blue clothes was called Lan Chaoyang. He was also a descendant of an ancient family. He came from the Lan family in the Devil Dragon star field. The woman with an otherworldly temperament like a fairy in a painting was called Nangong Qingwan. She came from the Pavilion of Immortals in the Devil Dragon star field. This was an extremely huge force in the Devil Dragon star field. Finally, the beautiful cultivator in purple clothes was called Ouyang Zishua. Chapter 3103. Zhang Sun was also very curious about Lin Feng's background, but Lin Feng did not tell him who he was. He simply said that his surname was Lin. That was because he was simply too famous. Even though this group of people had just arrived in the 9 provinces, they must have heard of his name. Lin Feng did not tell them his name because he did not want to attract unnecessary trouble. Perhaps aside from Zhang Sun, the others were not interested in knowing Lin Feng's name. They were just strangers who had met by chance and would not move together. Besides, even if Lin Feng wanted to join their group, they probably wouldn't agree to it. In their opinion, Lin Feng joining them was the same as adding a burden. Therefore, they would not allow Lin Feng to join them. The next day, Lin Feng parted ways with these people. 3 days later, Lin Feng finally left the Swamp of Despair. Lin Feng was very strong, so he could easily deal with any danger he encountered in the Swamp of Despair. However, many people died in the Swamp of Despair. The Swamp of Despair was simply a land of death. It was filled with danger, and there were massacres everywhere. The slightest carelessness could lead to a tragic death. Therefore, one had to be very careful when entering the Swamp of Death. After leaving the death curse, there was a boundless black grassland. The weeds growing here were all black. The soil was also black. It was extremely strange. Didn't they say that after passing through the Swamp of Despair, one would be able to see the treasures of Lulan Island? Lin Feng muttered to himself. He had obtained this information from the little golden snake. However, it seemed that the little golden snake's information was not very accurate. After all, the little golden snake had never passed through the Swamp of Despair. The little golden snake's information was also obtained from others. Therefore, it was understandable that the little golden snake's information was not accurate. Lin Feng saw the group of cultivators from the Demon Dragon Star region again. They seemed to be in a sorry state. Originally, there were 14 of them, but now only 13 were left. He did not know what had happened to cause them to lose one of their members. "Isn't that Brother Lin?" Zhang Sun pointed in the direction of Lin Feng. "Let's go," Sun Tianwei said in a low voice. Then he quickly flew into the distance. The others also did not stop and quickly left. Zhang Sun wanted to come over and greet Lin Feng, but the matter seemed to be quite urgent. So he didn't come over. Instead, he quickly left with the others. This group of people had hurried expressions. Something unknown must have happened. Otherwise, they wouldn't be acting like this. But no matter what happened, it had nothing to do with Lin Feng. Lin Feng was too lazy to care about these things. He walked towards the depths of the black grassland. When night fell, a hurricane blew over the black grassland. The powerful hurricane swept across the world, shattering the void. Lin Feng had never seen such a terrifying hurricane before. He quickly flew away to avoid being sucked into the hurricane. That night, the black grassland was not peaceful. This was because when the hurricane blew over the black grassland, waves of sinister laughter came from within the hurricane. It was like the cry of a malicious spirit. Many cultivators who heard this sound felt their hair stand on end. Moreover, the hurricane became more and more violent. In the latter half of the night, it swept through half of the black grassland. Many people were sucked into the hurricane and died tragically. Swoosh! Lin Feng quickly flew away like lightning. He tried to avoid the terrifying hurricane, but there were hurricanes coming from all directions. There was no way to avoid the hurricane. The earth cracked open, and a demonic wind blew out from it, forming the hurricane, a cultivator shouted. This cultivator saw a terrifying scene. He saw the cracked earth and the black hurricane surging from the earth. The black earth, the black grass, the black hurricanes, all of this seemed so bizarre. That cultivator had extraordinary means, so he managed to avoid the hurricane. But now he could no longer avoid it. In the end, that cultivator was sucked into the hurricane and died. Before Lin Feng was engulfed by the hurricane, he took out the hurricane pearl. With the hurricane pearl, he could travel through the hurricane. From time to time, he heard the screams of cultivators. Many cultivators were sucked into the hurricane and died tragically. It was too tragic. Lin Feng sped through the black hurricane. He wanted to leave the hurricane as soon as possible and go to the Rift Valley to take a closer look. There must be something amazing in the Rift Valley. Otherwise, such a terrifying black hurricane wouldn't have formed. Now, Lin Feng suddenly thought of another possibility. Lulon Island was so big. Although there were many treasures, these treasures might be hidden in various secret places. Then they would wait for cultivators to explore these treasures. Maybe this was an opportunity. Lin Feng had to cherish it. Maybe he would be able to find some extremely precious treasures in the future. Swoosh! At that moment, a black silhouette appeared behind Lin Feng without making any sound. Upon closer inspection, it was an extremely ugly monster. Its body was as black as ink, and it had a pair of huge wings. It was about 2 meters tall. Its head was like that of a bat's, and it had huge fangs. Its eyes emitted a blood-red light. This terrifying existence used the hurricane as a cover to get behind Lin Feng. Its sharp claws swiped at Lin Feng. Lin Feng didn't know what happened next, but his instincts were extremely fast. He vaguely sensed a sinister aura coming from behind him. Therefore, Lin Feng hurriedly moved to the left. Whoosh! A terrifying cold light streaked past where Lin Feng had been standing. That sharp cold light almost tore Lin Feng's body apart. Lin Feng couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. At this moment, Lin Feng finally saw what this terrifying existence was. Lin Feng hurriedly took out the stone sword and held it in his hand. He looked at the terrifying creature with an indifferent expression, then swung his sword and killed it. Lin Feng had long guessed that there couldn't be no danger in such a demonic black hurricane. Now, it seemed that he had guessed correctly. This strange creature was hiding in the hurricane. It was extremely terrifying, and creatures like this were definitely not rare in the hurricane. There must be many more. Screech. Chapter 30, 104. The stone sword could not split the monster's claws. One could imagine how hard the monster's claws were. Moreover, the monster's body was emitting a strong stench. Lin Feng guessed that the stench should contain poison. If one breathed in too much, one's body would be poisoned. After being poisoned, one's combat strength would decrease greatly. However, the monster's combat strength would not decrease at all. At this time, it was time for the monster to show its might. Therefore, he had to end the battle quickly. If he could not kill the monster quickly, Lin Feng might be in danger. Lin Feng also knew this. Therefore, he sped up his attack. Moreover, he used an even more powerful method. He used 3 layers of haki to condense a magnetic field. The powerful magnetic field enveloped the monster. Although the monster was very powerful after being enveloped by the magnetic field, its speed decreased greatly, and its combat strength also decreased greatly. Lin Feng held the stone sword in his hand and charged at the monster again. He clashed with the monster again. The stone sword used a terrifying power. The two sides collided more than 10 times. Lin Feng seized a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He stabbed the monster's chest with the stone sword. Blood immediately gushed out. The blood that the monster spat out was actually black blood. The black blood contained a deadly poison. When its blood dripped on the ground actually made a sizzling sound and black smoke rose. Obviously, the blood contained a terrifying corrosive power. After killing the monster, Lin Feng quickly walked into the depths. Not long after, he was attacked by another monster. When this monster attacked Lin Feng, a few more powerful monsters quickly flew over and attacked Lin Feng together. These monsters attacked Lin Feng while letting out sharp and ear-piercing cries. The monsters in the distance quickly gathered after hearing these cries. Seeing so many monsters besieging him, Lin Feng's expression suddenly sank. These monsters seemed to be taking revenge for the monster that he had killed earlier. Lin Feng did not fight with these monsters, because even if he spent a lot of effort to kill these monsters, he would not be able to get any benefits from them. In such a dangerous place, it was better to preserve his strength. After Lin Feng opened a gap, he quickly flew deeper into the depths. Soon, he got rid of the group of monsters that were chasing after him. At this time, Lin Feng saw a cultivator appear in front of him. The cultivator walked forward step by step, and the space around him distorted. The violent hurricane produced a power that was enough to shatter the void. The terrifying power slammed into the cultivator's body. However, it was unable to cause any harm to the cultivator. The terrifying power produced by the hurricane was blocked by the distorted space around the cultivator. Who is he? He's actually so powerful. Lin Feng was very surprised. The cultivator's appearance was rather ordinary, but he was very young. Could it be a human from the outer realm? Lin Feng could not help but think of it now. The outer realm humans had arrived in the 9 regions. Many of the outer realm humans had shocking ancient inheritances. Some of these inheritances were even coveted by the ancient forces of the heaven realm. The cultivator also glanced at Lin Feng, but he quickly turned his head and did not continue to pay attention to Lin Feng. In the distance, dozens of terrifying monsters quickly flew towards the cultivator, as if they wanted to surround and kill him. But those monsters had no way to get close to the cultivator. When those monsters tried to attack the cultivator, the distorted space around the cultivator directly enveloped the group of monsters. The bodies of the monsters were torn to pieces. After seeing this scene, Lin Feng's face showed an extremely shocked expression. That cultivator was simply too powerful. Just how much power did he possess? He didn't even make a move. Just the terrifying distortion power emitted from his body was able to kill so many powerful monsters. If he made a move, what kind of terrifying combat power would he be able to display? Just the thought of it was enough to make people feel shocked. Lin Feng quickly left. In the end, he passed through the Black Hurricane. Then he continued to fly towards the depths. By the next day, the Black Hurricane had dissipated. Many cultivators who survived were very glad. This night was really too thrilling. Who knows how many cultivators died tragically in the hands of the Black Hurricane or those monsters. The cultivators who survived were all ecstatic. Lin Feng was looking for the mysterious Rift Valley, because before the cultivator was devoured, he said that he saw the Rift Valley, the Black Hurricane, and those terrifying monsters flew out from the Rift Valley. Now, the hurricane had disappeared. What's the situation with the Rift Valley now? Will the Rift Valley disappear? Many cultivators heard the cultivator's words at that time. So many people were looking for the Rift Valley. After about an hour, Lin Feng heard a piece of news. It was said that someone had found the mysterious Great Rift Valley. Currently, many cultivators were flying towards the Great Rift Valley at high speed. After hearing this, Lin Feng also quickly flew towards the Rift Valley. When he arrived next to the Rift Valley, Lin Feng's face was full of shock. It was a rift valley that was over 100 miles long and 30 to 40 miles wide. Fierce hurricanes constantly blew out from the Rift Valley. However, the hurricane that blew out of the Great Rift Valley only covered the top of the valley. It didn't engulf the entire black grassland like before. Some cultivators tried to enter the Rift Valley, but they were torn to pieces by the hurricanes inside the Rift Valley. It wasn't easy to enter the Rift Valley. One needed to have extraordinary means to enter, but there were also some cultivators who relied on powerful magic treasures, special abilities, or treasures like jade talismans to successfully enter the Rift Valley. They quickly disappeared without a trace, obviously going to search for the opportunities at the bottom of the Rift Valley. Lin Feng took out his Heavenly Mystery Treasure Pagoda. He used the Heavenly Mystery Treasure Pagoda to protect himself. Then he also entered the Rift Valley. After entering the Rift Valley, Lin Feng found that the hurricanes only covered the top part of the Rift Valley. When they entered the Great Rift Valley,